last time the Cubs and Brewers hooked up in Milwaukee, it had the feeling of a long weekend party. But this time, it's all business. The Cubs have one last chance to mount a charge to regain the wild card lead that they lost over the weekend when they were swept by the Cincinnati Reds. So put away the 63 homers for a while and carries 20 strikeouts. They'll make a great highlight film. The only thing that matters now is a W. Put your game face on, Cubs fans. The Cubs and Brewers battle next. The Brats are sizzling, the turnstiles are clicking, and the wild card race in the National League is as hot as it can possibly be as the Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers play before a packed house tonight at County Stadium. It's game 1 of 2 tonight on WGN. Hello again, everybody. Along with Steve Stone, I'm Chip Carey. Welcome to Cubs baseball. And Stoney, it boils down to a very simple formula. Only 5 games remain in the regular season. The Cubs 1 game behind the New York Mets. We don't control our own destiny. The Mets with that 1-game lead, but the Cubs have to take care of business against the Milwaukee team that gave us all kinds of problems back in Chicago.
The last time these two teams met, it was bombs away. So it's up to Terry Mulholland tonight to slam the door. Terry as a starter has been awfully good. You see 2-0. His ERA just terrific. And the ironic thing is he could start 2 of the last 5 games the Cubs have remaining. And the Cubs are hoping the sight of this Milwaukee offense will spark their offense too, Stoney, because the Cubs didn't hit the ball well against Cincinnati. They sure did hit Milwaukee back in Chicago. There's 3 guys that are keys tonight. And you take a look at Sammy Sosa, who has 10 home runs. Glenn Allen Hill has hit their pitching staff, and Gary Gaetti has been terrific. But he's been good since he's put on a Cub uniform. So tonight, as every night remaining, a critical night for the Cubs. But in the end, it didn't hurt nearly as much as what happened to the Mets in New York as Montreal surprised New York 5-3. The Cubs are now within sight of their postseason prize. They just have to reach out and grab it. Today, that task falls on Steve Trachsel as the Cubs and Brewers battle next on WGN. Yes, indeed, the Cubs fans are out in force once again at County Stadium in Milwaukee. A gorgeous day for baseball as the Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers wrap up the 1998 portion of the schedule against each other today here at County Stadium. Hello again, everybody. Along with Steve Stone, I'm Chip Carey. Welcome to Cubs baseball, and how sweet it is, Stoney. The Cubs and Mets now tied with 4 games left to play. The Mets still have a home field advantage, 1 game at Shea Stadium. The Cubs have to play all of their games left on the schedule away from the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, but that doesn't seem to bother Jim Riggleman's bunch a bit. Well, the Cubs are under 500 on the road. However, recently, they've played much better on the road. They're hitting better. They're pitching better. And as you can see, the record dictates that they've been a much better baseball team. And if they are going to get the wild card spot, it's going to be right here in Milwaukee and then on to Houston for 3. So a very important start. As you would expect, Steve Trachsel takes the ball for the Cubs. It's been a while since he's picked up a win. Maybe today will be the day. Steve Trachsel has to have command of that forkball, and he has to have command of the outside corner. It's been a very good year for Steve Trachsel. Obviously, he's got to pick it up. And they announced today that if the Cubs do indeed have a 1-game playoff with the Mets in New York, Steve Trachsel will be the man. So this becomes even a doubly bigger start. Well, he's been a big-time pitcher for the Cubs. Remember opening day at Wrigley Field? He was very tough then. Perhaps he'll be very tough today in this most important of starts for the Cubs. It's a wild card tie. It's the Cubs and the Brewers, and we'll have more from County Stadium right after this timeout.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN. Brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. The new Dodge. From cars to minivans to trucks, it's about change. The new Dodge. The Discover Card, the card that pays you back with a cashback bonus award. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Pepsi, Generation Next. ComEd, the official electric company of the Chicago Cubs. ComEd, what do you do with your power? And by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
A big contingent of Cubs fans, young and old, here at County Stadium in Milwaukee, and plenty of smiles on the faces of Cubs fans today. It's a wild card tie with only 4 games left in the 1998 regular season. And here in Milwaukee, an absolutely delightful day for baseball. A gentle breeze blowing in. I'm guessing the temperature in the upper 60s, low 70s. It's a 4-game season for the Cubs and the New York Mets. And today the Cubs will try to knock off Milwaukee for the 2nd straight ball game. Here's the Cubs Pepsi lineup with red-hot Lance Johnson, a 7-game hitting streak atop the Cub order. Then it's Jose Hernandez, Mark Grace, Sammy Sosa in an 0-for-21 slide. Then Glenn Allen Hill, Gary Gaetti, Mickey Morandini, and the battery of Scott Service and Steve Trachsel.
The defense for Phil Garner and the Brewers. Jenkins, Grissom, and Burnitz left to right. Cirillo, Valentin, Vigna, and Loretta in the infield. And Bobby Hughes behind the plate. And Rafael Roque on the mound. He's 4-2. ERA in the low 4s. This is 9th start. He saw the Cubs in Chicago. They hit back-to-back home runs against him. And that day it was Sammy Sosa and Glenn Allen Hill.
Lance Johnson in the box, and we're underway. It's a fastball for ball 1 high. That game September 12th against the Cubs for Mr. Roque. 6 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, as Steve mentioned. Sosa and Hill homered in that ball game. And a line drive into the right field corner for Lance Johnson. He rounds first. Burnitz digs it out. He's on his way to second. The throw is not in time and gets away. It's a double for Johnson, and that's what the Cubs love to see. A leadoff 2-base hit leading off the ball game.
Yesterday, the Cubs scored in the 2nd inning, and today they're bidding to score in the 1st inning as Lance Johnson outruns the arm of Jeremy Burnitz. He's got a very good arm in right field, and he comes up firing. It's going to be a close play at second, but fortunately, the ball gets away. Lance is in at second base, and the Cubs trying to get on the board, and Jose Hernandez has a choice here. You can bunt this ball right at Cirillo or try to hit it to the right side where there is a big hole between Loretta and Vigna.
Jose hitting .258 with 23 homers and 74 driven in. Lance Johnson with a leadoff double down the right field line starts the game off for the Cubs. The pitch, he showed bunt and took low, ball 1. Jerry Davis, our home plate umpire. Terry Tata, Tom Hallion, Wally Bell, the rest of the umpiring crew as Tom Gamboa flashes the options to Jose Hernandez.
Rafael Roque is 6'4", doesn't throw overly hard. He does have a good changeup. And he spent 5 years in A-ball trying to get to the major leagues and trying to get a break. He's gotten that break with the Brewers.
1 ball, no strikes. The pitch. Again, the bunt attempt. And that's a fair ball. Hernandez looked back. The ball took a funny spin, bounced back into fair play. Hughes pounced on it and threw him out at first. And Johnson could not advance.
That's not a play you want to see. Jose Hernandez only has 2 sacrifices. Now right here, he doesn't know if it's fair or foul, and it's a good play by Hughes because he looks back Lance Johnson before he goes to first, and so no sacrifice, and now it's going to take a base hit. The arms in the outfield pretty good all the way around for the Brewers.
Mark Grace, the Cub hitter, who's in an 0-for-8 slide, and he looks at a good fastball for strike 1. Mark Grace with a career high 17 homers this year. He's driven home 89. Lance Johnson doubled to lead off the ball game. He's still at second now with 1 man out. Grace hits a line drive. It's caught by Vigna and out of his glove. It trickles into right field, and Grace is aboard. It's ruled a hit. Vigna had the play, and the ball came out of his glove, and now Sammy Sosa bats with runners at the corners.
Well, Lance is going to get doubled off if Vigna can control this ball. He can't. And then a wise choice by Lance Johnson as he came around the bag. He picked up Tom Gamboa. Gamboa told him to stay right there. You've got Sammy coming up. You got runners at the corners, only 1 out.
And they're going nuts inside and outside the ballpark. How ironic is this? Sammy 0-for-21, wearing number 21. Maybe he'll snap his slide here today. He crushed a Roque pitch back in Chicago, you'll remember that on September 12th.
Jeff Pentland trying to get Sammy to think a little bit about right field. If you show these guys you're going to hit the ball to right field, eventually they will have to come inside. And that's the ball that Sammy's going to hit out and left. And I think he's got a lot of confidence against Roque. He knows he cannot throw the ball by him inside.
The stretch by the lefty. The pitch. Breaking ball misses high. 1-0. And the crowd boos with every ball out of the zone.
The last time Roque faced Sammy, he did walk him twice.
Everybody standing at County Stadium. The runners lead. Now the 1-0 to Sammy. Oh, good cut. He found it straight back. He's getting pitches to hit. He's just missing by a millimeter or so.
Okay, gave up Mark McGwire's 64th home run, and I'm sure he would be absolutely ecstatic to give up Sammy's 64.
That would only be fair. Don't want to show any favoritism.
Well, the Cubs, if they get off to an early lead behind Steve Trachsel, they should be in very good shape here today.
The stretch in the 1-1. Off speed. Strike. Called inside corner. It's 1-2. So Sammy falls behind in the count. 2 on, 1 out. We're in the top of the first. Another huge crowd of over 40,000 expected today in Milwaukee. The runners lead. The 1-2. Off speed. He took it low. The count evens 2-2 now.
Well, the Cubs' job very simple today. You post the W on the board, and then as we're wending our way to Houston, you put a lot of pressure on the New York Mets to keep pace. They've got the home game coming up with the Montreal Expos tonight.
Carl Pavano against Bobby Jones in that one later at Shea Stadium. The Expos have beaten the Mets 7 out of 11 this year. The 2-2. Off speed, take it inside. The count now full, 3-2.
Now Hughes doesn't throw particularly well, and you wonder if they're going to gamble running Mark Grace. Sammy, as you know, does strike out quite a bit. In fact, 167 times this year, so if you do run with Grace, it is a gamble. However, on an infield ground ball, you probably will stay out of the double play.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Johnson at third, Grace at first, with 1 out. The 3-2 to Sammy. He walked in. Ball 4 inside. The base is loaded for Glenn Allen Hill. A double. A failed sacrifice. A single by Grace. And now a 1-out walk loads the bases for Hill. And as Steve mentioned earlier, he as well has homered off Roque. That back in Chicago.
Career-wise, with the bases loaded, Glenn Allen Hill has been very productive. And this is a small ballpark in the daytime. 315 down each line, 362 to straightaway left. Gets a little wider, 392 to the power alleys and 402 to straightaway center. But if you pull it here or slice it down the line, you can get it out of here in a hurry.
Roque comes set. The pitch. Swing and a miss at the fastball. It's 0-1. Against Cincinnati in Chicago, the Cubs had several opportunities to score, and they didn't do it. You've got them loaded here in the first. They need to put at least 1 on the board here. The pitch is high and away. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Roque has not found any rhythm at all. Let's see if the Cubs can take advantage of it. This is, however, a pretty good double play combination in Valentin and Vina.
Hill, though, with good speed in the box. 1 ball, 1 strike. The pitch. Off speed is hit toward third. Out at second, 1. Out at first, 2. Double play retires the side. The Cubs load the bases with 1 out and failed to score in the first. On we go to the bottom half. Steve Trachsel takes the mound for the Cubs in a scoreless game. Cubs load the bases and fail to score in the top of the first, and there's a bird's eye seat as they build beautiful new Miller Park right across the street from County Stadium in Milwaukee. That new facility will be ready in time for the 2000 season here in Brew City. Here's a look at the Milwaukee lineup. A most disappointing year for Phil Garner and his Milwaukee team. They do have Vina, Loretta, and Cirillo atop the order. Burnitz has been their big power hitter as the cleanup man. Then Marquise Grissom. Jeff Jenkins gets the start in left. Valentin, Hughes, and Roque will bat 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And the Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs. Hill, Johnson, and Sosa left to right. Gaetti, Hernandez, Morandini, and Grace in the infield. The battery of Scott Service and Steve Trachsel. Going for win number 15, and this is 32nd start. And Chip, you talked about a disappointing year for the Brewers. Offensively, this has been a pretty solid baseball team. But their starting rotation just disintegrated. And when that happens, you have to elevate relievers into the rotation. Consequently, you've weakened both areas. Your starting pitching isn't all that good, and you've taken a few of your relievers and made them starters, and that eventually hurts the bullpen.
Well, the ERA since the All-Star break is over a run higher than it was in the first half of the year when the Brewers finished a game over 500. That's certainly indicative of what you're talking about. But it's been really tough on Phil Garner. Obviously, he wants to win. Obviously, the Brewers thought with the move to the National League, they'd be a much more competitive team. They thought they had a chance to compete for the division title this year. That has not at all been the case as Vigna stands in and looks at a fastball from Trachsel for ball one.
Vigna did very little last night. They kept the ball down on him. He kept trying to pull it, and he had nothing to show for it. When you keep him off base, you hold down the Brewers.
He's a .307 hitter on the year. Has scored 99 times. He gets hit by a lot of pitches. Pretty good with the glove at second base, too. A very valuable commodity. And there are those who say that this man may end up playing for somebody else in 1999.
Well, if you get the ball inside, he's going to do a lot like what Biggio and Kendall do. He's just going to leave that arm there and get hit.
That ball hit high in the air into right center field. Who wants it? It'll be Sammy Sosa. And Vigna flies out for out number one. Now the first baseman, Mark Loretta. Loretta has absolutely tormented the Cubs this year. Last night he had 3 of Milwaukee's hits. Milwaukee as a team tallied 9 safeties. So he had 1/3 all by himself. He's hit over 400 against the Cubs this year.
And Loretta, without the huge power numbers, is much like Jose Hernandez. He can play anywhere and gives you a quality effort everywhere he goes. And against Trachsel, he's been tough.
Steve delivers a quick strike. The wind blowing in here in Milwaukee. So Steve just pretend it's Wrigley Field with the wind howling in. And you'll do just fine today. Scoreless ball game in the Milwaukee first. That ball popped up down the right side and into the seats. And out of play, 0-2 to Loretta. Cubs 6-5 against Milwaukee this year. Big start last night for Terry Mulholland, who just continues to pitch amazingly for the Cubs. Whether it's out of the pen, whether it's in a starting role, Terry Mulholland was absolutely a godsend for the Cubs last night. The 0-2. Taken low. A ball, 2 strikes.
Normally, Loretta is going to get the bat on the ball. He's only fanned 47 times and 416 at bats.
Did stay alive on that ball that was across the shoe tops. So it stays 1-2. They had 52,000 at County Stadium last night. And I wouldn't be surprised if Terry Mulholland, even after pitching 8 innings and 120 tosses last night, if the Cubs needed him for a batter or 2, he'd be willing to take the ball today again. That ball hit on a line into right center field. Johnson comes charging over and makes a fine running catch. Boy, he covered a lot of ground out in right center. 2 away.
And that's a fine play by Lance Johnson. He got a good break on the ball. This ball was slicing away from him. It looked for a moment like it would find the gap, but Johnson had other ideas, and he runs it down and makes the play.
So Trachsel, a fly ball pitcher, has gotten 2 flyouts here to start the Milwaukee game in the first inning. And the third baseman, Jeff Cirillo, will stand in. This guy turned in a couple of great defensive plays in the game last evening. He's a viable Gold Glove candidate at third base. He's made only 10 errors this year at the hot corner. Only Cal Ripken of Baltimore has made fewer at that position in all of baseball.
It would be nice to retire Cirillo here so you didn't have to face Burnitz in the first inning with a base runner.
And Trachsel gets ahead. Strike 1 called.
Against Steve Trachsel, both of these guys have done quite a job. And Burnitz has more runs batted in from the left side than anyone in our league.
The 0-1. Fooled him with that pitch. 0-2.
How'd you like the night of Ken Griffey Jr. last night?
Well, he's a pretty good player.
He's got 55 and
it's unbelievable.
And he's not in the race.
Well, he's like Sammy. When he gets hot, he hits them in bunches. It would not surprise me to see Griffey take a real good shot at 60 before this week is over. And Trachsel strikes out Cirillo. Service will throw him out at first, and Steve works a 1-2-3 Milwaukee first inning. Nothing doing after one at County Stadium. We are scoreless. From the old park to the new park, County Stadium, and there's Miller Park. It's expected to open up in the year 2000. I'm amazed, Steve, at the amount of progress they have made on that place since we were here last.
It's shaping up as a beautiful facility, and it does have a little touch of Camden Yard in it from the angle we're looking at.
Gary Gaetti leads off the Cubs second, and he takes high. One of the features that this park will have that Camden Yards won't have is a retractable roof. And with the unpredictable weather in April and May, that'll come in big-time handy here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
This is where you love to see Roque against a quality hitter. He's down 2-0. Gary Gaetti is looking for something middle in.
He got it, but he missed it. 2-1.
That was a pretty good changeup right there, and it shows that the young man and the catcher are thinking along some pretty good lines. Gary, a dead fastball hitter, and he got the off-speed pitch, and it was a dandy.
2 balls and a strike. Now it's 3-1. Gaetti, Morandini, and Scott Service in the Cubs second. The first inning really hurt the Cubs. They loaded the bases with 1 out and failed to score. Gaetti sprays that ball out of play, and the count runs full now. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Gary Gaetti has been an amazing signing by the Cubs front office. In 32 games, he's hit .321 with 7 home runs and 23 runs driven in. And he's played flawlessly over at third. The payoff pitch is popped out of play right side again. Gaetti just threw the bat at the ball that time to stay alive.
Roque has been one of the better starters for the Brewers, and it's somewhat surprising because they didn't figure that he was going to do much when this season started, but here he is.
Again, the 3-2. It's chopped to the left side, and Tom Gamboa knocks it down with the glove hand. And he'll flip that ball into the seats to a young fan and make a friend here at County Stadium. Gary Gaetti leading off the Cubs second, a scoreless game. Off speed again, pulled foul. That one too hot for Tom to handle down there.
You would think after 2 changeups that Gary would be seeing a fastball away. Let's see what Hughes has in mind.
3-2. That one again pulled just foul at the third base bag.
Well, very good news came out of the Kerry Wood performance today. This is Kevin Tapani, who will go to the mound in Friday's game. But Kerry Wood reported that he threw all of his pitches and he felt just great. And now a very difficult decision as you look at the young man. He's got a chance to go again before this year's out.
Good eye from Gary Gaetti. Draws the second walk from Mr. Roque, and we will hear from Cubs pitching coach Phil Regan and get his report on Kerry Wood in just a little bit. But that is good news, and it is a very difficult decision that the Cubs have to make. He hasn't pitched in almost a month. So is it fair to put that kind of pressure on the kid to come out and throw like the Kerry Wood we saw for most of this season with 2 games to go, perhaps? Glad I don't have to make the decision. Here's Morandini. Mickey checks his swing and takes the ball.
Okay, a lot like Pulsifer. Every time he throws a fastball, it's up in the zone. And he doesn't throw hard enough to get away with too many of those. Let's see if the Cubs can take advantage of it early.
1 ball, no strikes. Gaetti at first, nobody out. Pitch chopped right side. Loretta to second, 1. Relay back to first. The pitcher missed the bag. So Morandini grounds out, but he's aboard on the force play. 3-6 on the put out at second. Morandini's aboard with 1 away now.
Looks to me like Roque couldn't locate the bag. He was there in time, and this is the toughest of all double plays. The 3-6-1. The pitcher has to come over, and he's got to get there early. The return throw is good, but as you can see, Roque just couldn't locate the bag. So they would have had 2. Instead, the Cubs get an extra out this inning, and let's see if they can make him pay for it.
And Mickey almost missed the bag as he hustled down the first base line, but he's aboard for Scott Service. Well, earlier this year, Scott had a big game in Milwaukee. Hit a home run, drove in another run in a 3-0 Cub victory. Maybe he can do it again today for the Cubs.
And you also have Steve Trachsel in the lineup, and he's one of the best hitting pitchers. So he adds another dimension to his starts.
A ball, no strikes. 1-on-1 outs. We're in the Cubs second. Pitch out, nothing doing. You don't think the Mets are watching this game today, do you?
I would say they're interested spectators.
But this has been a great race between the Mets and the Cubs, arch rivals for so many years. And there's a lot of baseball to be played yet. The 2-0. Nowhere near. 3 balls, no strikes. How do you green light service here? Roque's got a good changeup.
I think I'd just as soon see him take it. If he hits the ball on the ground, it's going to be 2, and you've got a good hitting pitcher up next. Let's see what's on Riggs' mind.
He was taking 3 balls and a strike.
Well, now, if you want to stay out of the double play, this is a good time to send Mickey. He's got to watch the move, obviously, of Roque. But if you do send him, and Mickey's been awfully good on the base paths this year, you will stay out of the double play.
3 balls, 1 strike. 1 on, 1 out. The pitch rifled out of play into the second deck. It's a late arriving crowd here in Milwaukee. You look out toward left field and see the expressway. Cars are still coming off the on-ramps, and the fans still pouring into the stadium. We had 52,000 here last night. This is the final home game of the year for the Brewers as well. We might approach 50,000 or more today as well. 3 balls, 2 strikes. The runner goes. The pitch is fouled away again.
Mickey looking for stolen base number 14. And Scott Service trying to avoid grounding into a double play. He's already done that 12 times.
There's Mickey. There's Service. The runner goes. Pitch rifled toward Loretta at first. Dead in his tracks. He makes the put out there. Service retired. Morandini is at second for Steve Trachsel and 2 men out.
And the fact that you're running with Morandini did indeed keep the Cubs out of a double play and kept the inning alive for Steve Trachsel. So Mickey looking for contact. When he sees it's behind him, he realizes that Loretta has no play at all at second.
Well, there you see the numbers on Trachsel. A .267 hitter. He's 16 out of 60 on the year and has struck out only 18 times. The pitch to him is outside a ball. He has a chance to help himself here in the Cubs second. A 0-0 game. One ball, no strikes. Way outside, it's 2-0. And Roque says there's something wrong with that baseball. I need one that has some strikes in it.
Okay, an interesting story because he was signed as a 6-year minor league free agent. That was back on October 31st of last year. Now, he never really got much of a shot with the Mets. They kept him down in their low minors year after year after year. But he's had a pretty good shot this year.
Well, Steve ought to see a pretty good pitch to hit here. 2 balls, no strikes. The left-hander fires it home, and it's a fastball, strike 1 call.
Well, if you read your morning paper, you will see where Tony La Russa endorses the VIP going to Sammy Sosa. He said, sure, it would be nice if they could tie for it, but in reality, because the Cubs have been in the race all year, his vote would go to Sosa. That's some pretty nice praise.
2-1. 3 balls and a strike. Well, this whole home run chase between McGuire and Sosa, I think you would agree, Steve, and everybody would agree that it's been handled with such class by both of those men. You'd expect Tony La Russa to do the classy thing and say something like that for Sammy. That's wonderful. You love to see that. 3-1 the count. He walked the pitcher. How about that? First and second, 2 out. And one of the Cubs' hottest hitters in Lance Johnson will stride to the batter's box. 3 walks in an inning and 2/3 so far.
Before that happens, there is going to be a visit to the mound. And you've got Don Rowe going out there. He's been out there a lot as the Cubs have just pasted the Brewers pitching staff.
Well, these battles have been battles of attrition. They've hammered the Cubs. They've scored over 8 runs a game on average. against the Cubs team. But it's just been a matter of who can survive the longest out on that mound.
Unfortunately, a good majority of the time, it has been the Cubs, especially in that series at Wrigley Field, which was as explosive a series as we've ever seen.
Well, you've seen 16 years worth of Cubs baseball. Was that the best series you ever saw there?
Well, the last 2 games were the best 2 games back-to-back I've ever seen played in Wrigley Field. When you come back from the type of deficits the Cubs came back from and win the ball game, you've got to say that that is quite a day's work. Coming from 7 back, heading into the 7th inning, it's a 12-5 score.
Well, another chance for the Cubs here with Lance Johnson way outside. Good stop by Hughes. That ball found his glove somehow, and it's ball 1.
Roque came very close to his 3rd wild pitch of the year, but for the good movement of Bobby Hughes.
The stretch, the 1-0. Oh, another pitch low and away. 2-0 with Jose Hernandez waiting on deck.
Well, many people would take a pitch here, but I think Lance, looking for a fastball, is going to try to hit this hard. He says he's back to his 40-ounce bat, and he's been hitting the ball with authority.
2-0. It's 3-0. He's another bad one away from walking the bases loaded again. He did that in the first inning before Glenn Allen Hill hit into a double play. He's walked 2 in this inning. 3-0. He's done it again. Wow, 4 walks already. Bases loaded for Jose Hernandez. So here's Jose. We have to wonder too, Steve, if so many of these players from the Caribbean have their thoughts and prayers elsewhere during today's play. Roque from the Dominican Republic, Jose from Puerto Rico, Sammy from the DR as well. Hurricane George is just pummeling the Caribbean today. That pitch misses inside. It's currently right over Haiti today. And a lot of our players on the Cubs team haven't been able to get in touch with friends and loved ones back home. They are obviously concerned and wanted us to send along our thoughts and prayers for their safety and well-being as the awful weather continues to cause all kinds of problems down south. The 1-0. Off speed, he missed with it. 2-0. Well, how about this?
Well, now you're going to see a fastball. You can pretty much take it to the bank. And if it's hittable, Jose can drive in a couple of runs rather easily.
He's working off the windup. 2 balls, no strikes. The pitch. That one's right through there. 2-1.
Phil Garner looking on, and he's seen both of his starters get in early trouble in both of these games.
The 2-1. Fouled away. He's battled back to even the count. 2-2. Bases full of Cubs again, this time in the second. The Cubs did not score in the first. It's still a 0-0 game. Morandini at third. Trachsel at second. Lance Johnson at first. Now the 2-2 pitch due to the Cubs shortstop. Here it comes. Off speed, he missed. 3-2 now. Well, he's got to throw a strike now.
Well, now you're going to see everybody running, so even on a bloop double or anything in the gap, it's going to score 3 runs. And again, you would certainly think he'd be throwing a fastball here.
3 balls, 2 strikes. There go the runners. The pitch. He walked in. Cubs have a 1-0 lead. 5 walks in the game. Morandini scores. And here's Mark Grace with the bases loaded and the Cubs up a run.
RBI 75 for Jose Hernandez, and he did it with his eyes, not his bat. And the Cubs, with 4 walks in the inning, have taken the lead 1-0. And Phil Garner can't believe it. This young man's been a pretty good pitcher this year, but he had trouble against the Cubs in Wrigley Field, and he's got trouble again.
And trouble represented by that man, Mark Grace, who hit a rocket toward right. Fernando Vina dived, had the ball in his glove. It trickled away from him, and Grace was credited with a base hit in the Cub first inning. A chance to put a crooked number on that scoreboard here in the second. The pitch is a fast strike.
Now, you'd have to think you're going to see a breaking ball, and on a breaking ball, Steve Trachsel has got to be coming down the line, because Hughes made one miraculous stop already. I'm not sure if he's got another one in him.
Grace choked up on that bat. The 0-1 is another strike. 0-2. Roque looking a little angry right now. The Cubs have scored the first run of the game without benefit of a hit. A balk. He balked. He's balked home a run.
Balk called by Jerry Davis. And everything going wrong for the Brewers. And the Cubs just enjoying every minute of this one. That's the first balk of the year for Roque, and it cost him a run.
No balls, 2 strikes. It's 2-0. The pitch. Strike 3 called, and the inning is over. But how about that? The Cubs get 4 walks in the inning, a balk, score twice without benefit of a hit, and still leave 2 runners on base. After 1.5, it's the Cubs 2, Milwaukee nothing. Cubs 2, Milwaukee nothing after 1.5. What did Roque do, Stoney, to draw the balk call in the second run?
Well, it's interpreted that he comes to a set position, and then without stepping back off the mound, he separates his hands. Now watch, right there. He separates his hands and then steps back off the mound, and that's what Jerry Davis caught, and that cost him a run. So we've had a couple of the pitchers out there, Pulsifer and Roque, pretty much without their head in the game for the first 2 starts.
And the Cubs will take all the breaks they can get. They got 4 walks in that second inning, scored twice without benefit of a hit. And now Trachsel has a 2-run lead as he faces Brewer cleanup man Jeremy Burnitz. What a year this guy has had for the Brew Crew. He's been unbelievable. He's hit 38 home runs. He's driven in 124. And he's hit 263 for a Milwaukee team that probably did not expect that from him this year.
Well, this year he's 2 for 7 against Trachsel. Both of them have been home runs.
Steve gets ahead with strike 1, then took something off, and now is ahead 0-2.
Burnitz is a free swinger and will go down on strikes. He's fanned 151 times. So you can keep it out of the strike zone, use that head-high fastball, or that splitter in the dirt, and most likely it'll be number 152 for Burnitz.
And it is. Say cheese, baby. 1 down. Frozen like a picture. Burnitz is strikeout victim number 2.
Service wants it away, and Steve Trachsel gets it right there. And Jeremy thought that was kind of a generous outside corner, but Steve Trachsel very happy that the call is extending out that far.
Yes, indeed. Never hear a pitcher complain about a wide strike zone.
No, that's just a delight.
4 up, 4 down as Marquise Grissom stands in. And he takes the ball low. 1 ball, no strikes. Steve will tell you, in his last start against Cincinnati, he did not have his good rhythm. He did not have much confidence in any of his pitches. He didn't last very long in that ball game. He went 3 2/3 innings. Today, though, he looks like a man on a mission. It is early, however, but he looks very, very sharp to start this ball game. And again, when you only have 4 left, every game is huge.
Well, also, there was a bit of a chance for his arm to rebound because in his last 2 starts, he went a little over 9 innings, and so this should be a good day for him.
2 balls and a strike to Marquise Grissom.
This Brewer team doesn't run particularly well, and they don't run often. So that is a break for Steve Trachsel and Scott Service.
Fouled away. Count evens 2-2. Cubs 2 runs on 2 hits. Nothing across for Milwaukee. Jim Lefevre with Phil Garner.
And Jim is the new hitting instructor of this Brewer team, and he's just an exceptional hitting coach. He's going to do a good job here. They're going to implement a few new programs over the wintertime to help out their hitters.
That ball inside the bag, fair and down the left field line. Grissom with outstanding speed will reach second as that ball stops in foul ground to left field. So it's a 1-out double for Grissom, and the Brewers have their first hit here in the second inning.
No chance at all for Gary Gaetti as this one was threaded right down the line. Grissom got a forkball, and he pulled it. Gary Gaetti playing him off the line, just sees it die in left field.
So you tip your cap to Grissom, who has his 28th double. He's in scoring position now for Jeff Jenkins.
And this young man has pretty good power toward left and left center field. With that in mind, Glenn Allen Hill is way off the line. He's taking away the gap in left center. They'll give him the left field line.
That ball hit like a rocket to right, but Sammy is right there. He's got it. There's the out. Grissom's going to try to take third. The throw is on target, but late. Jenkins flies to right. Grissom takes third on the tag, and now Jose Valentin, the shortstop, will try to drive in the first Milwaukee run with 2 men down.
Tom Gamboa managed Jose Valentin in winter ball, and he said that the best way to contend with this guy is keep throwing him a steady diet of off-speed pitches, that forkball down. Try to stay away from him if you go to the fastball at all, but he is a dead fastball hitter from the left side, and he's a dead pull hitter from the left side. So if you stay away, you'll probably get that ground ball to the right side.
And the ground ball should be the third out of the inning. Cubs 2, Brewers nothing. Runner at third, 2 away for Valentin, with 15 homers on the campaign, and high and tight, ball 1.
And as you can see, left-handed, overwhelming majority of his hits to right field. And for a guy who is not a very powerful guy, he can hit it a long way.
All of his home runs have come from this side of the plate, so be careful here. 1-0. There's the off speed, a hot shot to Mark Grace. He'll smother it, step on the bag, inning over. No runs, 1 hit, a man left at third after 2. Cubs 2, Brewers nothing. Well, I never took Spanish in high school, but I think that means, how do you say home run in Spanish? Sosa. And speaking of home runs, let's check out who's cleaning up in baseball. Brought to you by Hoover. Since the break, Sammy and Albert have been awesome in Chicago.
As has Mark McGuire, Manny Ramirez, and Vladimir Guerrero. And that's who's cleaning up in baseball for Hoover. And Vladimir Guerrero will look at that Mets pitching staff one more time tonight.
Let's go, Vladimir.
Well, that young man can really play.
So here's Sammy Sosa. He walked his first time up against Rafael Roque. 2-0 in favor of the Cubs. The line, the pitch. It's a ball outside. 1-0. Big Cub fan Margie Nix watching from South Bend, Indiana today. Hoping to see Sammy hit number 64. The 1-0. Ripped foul back. He's getting pitches to hit, and he's just offline. 1-1.
When the Cubs travel to Houston in a game seen at 7 o'clock here on WGN, it'll be Kevin Tapani against Jose Lima. Shane Reynolds will go on Saturday. Mike Hampton will go on Sunday, and the Cubs have to make the announcements of who they want to throw on Saturday and Sunday.
The 1-1 is high. 2 balls and a strike. Swing it easy, Sammy, and the ball will jump for you. The 2-1. Off speed, stayed high. It's 3-1. They are homer happy here in Milwaukee.
They're booing everything out of the zone.
They'll boo again. 2 straight walks for Sosa. That's 6 walks for Roque in this game. Man, oh man.
I would think they'd have that bullpen up and going here pretty soon. Although last night they used that bullpen quite a bit with Patrick, Woodall, Reyes, Mullins, and Weathers. The starter today, Rafael Roque, has no conception of the strike zone. And let's see if the Cubs can put a little more daylight between themselves and the Brewers right here in the third.
Well, here's Glenn Allen Hill. He hit into an around the horn double play to end the Cubs first. Runner at first, nobody out, and that ball hit a mile high toward right. Vigna goes out. Burnitz comes in. It'll be the Milwaukee second baseman, Vigna. 1 away. So Sosa back at first. And the Cub third baseman, Gary Gaetti, will stand in. He walked in the second inning.
We have the proposed pitching matchups for that huge series in Atlanta. Bruce Chen going against Rick Reed in the first game. Tom Glavine against Al Leiter in the second game, and Greg Maddux against Armando Reynoso. In a series the Cubs are very interested in.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Here's Gaetti. Swung at a high pitch and missed it. 0-1. I don't believe the Mets have won in Atlanta this year. In fact, they're 3-6 against the Braves overall. 0-3 at Turner Field. No balls and a strike. 1 on, 1 out. The pitch. Conversely, for the Cubs, they know they can play well in Houston. Cubs played very well down in the Astrodome before watching Houston come back to Chicago and sweep us in dramatic fashion.
And there's the threesome that the Cubs will face. Unfortunately, not in that picture. The big unit, Randy Johnson, who will go tonight.
Nothing personal, Randy, but see you next year, perhaps, or in the NLCS. 1 ball, 1 strike. Inside, it's 2-1. No activity in the Brewer bullpen.
Well, when you're all over the place, as Roque is today, you're not going to get the benefit of any close pitch from Jerry Davis. If you're throwing a lot of strikes, then they will give you the occasional pitch.
Sammy leads at first. He's going. The pitch cut on line hard into left. Jenkins misplays it. It's in the corner. Sammy's going to score. He'll round third. Gaetti on his way to second, and the Cubs have their 3rd run.
It goes as a base hit. An error on Jenkins. No run batted in, but 3 up on the board for the Cubs, as the Brewers have literally self-destructed in this series. Granted, they're getting a little help from the Cub hitters, but they're putting a lot of pressure on the defense, and the defense has not responded. This is a rifle shot into left field, and Jenkins just olays it.
That was very poor defense, but the Cubs glad to have it. As Sammy scores, Gaetti's at second on the single in the air, and Morandini takes a ball low. 3-0 Cubs now in the 3rd. Hot shot hit toward Vina at second. He'll handle that. Runner to 3rd now with 2 away. Well, reading the press clippings today, Ed Lynch was talking about when he played with the Mets, how discouraging it was during one of the pennant races. That with the Cubs playing during the day, how frustrating it was to come to the ballpark and know that the Cubs had won, and knowing that the Mets had to go out and win later on that night to keep pace with Chicago. Hopefully that'll happen again tonight.
Well, you put a W up on the board, and then there are very few options as far as holding ground. So the Cubs trying to do just that. And they're trying to take advantage of a very wild Rafael Roque today.
He's walked 6 men. And now has a runner at 3rd with 2 outs, and Scott Service in the batter's box. Scott grounded out to first his first time up. Cubs 3 runs on 3 hits. Trying to even their road record at 39-39. The 0-1. And we said at the start of the second half of this season, if the Cubs were going to be a playoff team, they had to turn around their road schedule. They're trying to do that again today. The schedule heavily tilted on the road for the Cubs in the second half of this year. And since the break, the Cubs 9 over 500 at 40-31. 1 ball, 1 strike. Roque off the stretch with a runner at 3rd and 2 outs. The pitch popped up right side. Loretta on the run, has room near the stands, hauls it in, and the inning is over. The Cubs get a run on a hit, a walk, and an error, and after 2.5, lead the Brewers by 3. All exits lead to County Stadium in Milwaukee today. Cubs 3, Brewers nothing after 2.5. It'll be Hughes, Roque, and Vina for the Brew Crew against Steve Trachsel, who surrendered only 1 hit. He struck out 2 and hasn't walked anyone in his first 2 passes in this ball game. Trachsel trying to win for the 15th time. That would be a career high for him. And the Cubs, with Kevin Tapani already winning his 19th, the Cubs looking to have two 15-plus game winners on their starting staff for the first time since 1992. That's when Greg Maddux won 20 and Mike Morgan won 16. We're in the third inning. It'll be the Brewer catcher, Bobby Hughes. The Mets play Montreal later on tonight. Montreal's gotten the best of New York in the 1998 schedule. They've won 7 of 11. They've won 3 of 5 at Shea Stadium. So here we go with Hughes. Off-speed roller towards second. Morandini will flip quickly in time. One away. One pitch, one out. Hughes is retired. Roque will bat. Before he does, let's pause quickly for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
With Steve Stone, Chip Carey, and our entire WGN crew from County Stadium in Milwaukee. Things looking up for the Cubs so far. It's 3-0 after 2.5. Roque is 1 out of 12 as a major league hitter this year. And he looks at a fastball outside. Ball 1.
Steve looks like he's got pretty good stuff today. There's a lot of zip on the fastball, and he's hit his spots. Has yet to walk a Brewer.
What I like too, Stoney, he's grabbing the ball and he's throwing it. He's not rubbing the horsehide to death out there. He's ready to get it and go.
And don't forget, we haven't had anybody on first base yet.
The 1-1. You had to bring that up. Fouled away. It's 1-2. Well, we had a guy at second. He didn't slow down then, so.
There are 42 eighth graders here today from St. Jude School in South Holland, Illinois, with their teachers, Andrea Linz and Mr. J. And it is a gorgeous day for baseball.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Not a bad idea to play hooky on a day like today. The 1-2. Strike 3. Say cheese. 3 strikeouts for Trachsel. 2 up, 2 down in the third.
Well, they're going to have to come in at the corners for Vina just in case he decides to try to bunt his way on. Vina 0 for 5 in the series. And there's Gary Gaetti, who's in at the cutout at third. And Mark Grace even with the bag at first.
2 up, 2 down. Vina flied to right his first time. He's 0 for 5 in the series. Final home game of the year for Milwaukee. They jet to L.A. for 4 to wrap up the season. And ball high, 1-0. One ball, no strikes. It's 2-0. Vina, a .306 hitter. Needs 11 hits for 200. He scored 99 runs. That's a strike. He's been in the Mets system. He was with the Mariners. Now with Milwaukee. Steve Trachsel trying to win a big ball game for the Cubs today. Misses high. It's the pesky leadoff man. 3-1.
There was the bunt possibility, but the pitch was out of the zone. Vina's stolen 21 bases, so you just as soon keep him off base.
The line to 3-1. He lost it. Ball 4 outside. First Trachsel walk. It comes with 2 men out. And now Mark Loretta, the batter, who was a flyout victim his first time up.
This one just misses on the outside corner. And Vina does take the first walk. Now, if he gets adventuresome on the bases, as he is prone to do, you can pick him off first base. That would be the easiest way to get out of this inning and don't have to deal with Loretta or possibly Cirillo.
For Burnett. Let's hope it doesn't come to that here in the third inning. Cubs up 3-zip in the third inning. Good fastball. Nice recovery. 0-1. Cubs have won 20 of Steve's
31 starts this year.
Picked off 6 already. Base stealers right at 500. And although Vina's stolen 21 bases, he's been caught 16 times. That is not a very good percentage.
And he's set back to the back, standing up. Well, they're still filing in here at County Stadium.
Looks to me like there has to be right around 50,000 here today. I know they had 43,000 advanced ticket sales, and on a beautiful day, there's a great reason to come to the ballpark.
Just missed. Count evens, a ball and a strike. Let's not get too cute here with the heart of the Brewer order coming up here in the 3rd inning. Cubs 3, Brewers nothing.
Last night it sounded almost like a home game for the Cubs.
Did it ever? That was awesome. A lot of Cubs fans made the trek north. We'll head to Houston after today's game. The 1-1. Low and away. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, if you're thinking about any movement, and I'm not sure that Garner is going to gamble 3 runs down, but this would be the pitch. They're shading him just a step toward right center field. That's where Lance Johnson ran down a shot in the 1st inning.
2 balls, 1 strike.
I'd give Vina my best pickoff move right here.
He brings it home and he lines it into left. So Loretta has been a constant Cub tormentor. Vina's going to try to take 3rd, and he'll make it. The ball hits awkwardly on the dirt, and Loretta takes 2nd base.
That's not what you want to do. Vina baited him into doing that, and Glenn Allen Hill has to get that ball into 2nd. You got to make sure the trailer on the play doesn't get into 2nd base. You see Vina kind of slow down, and then he accelerated. There's no chance for Glenn Allen Hill to get him. This throw has to be to 2nd base. Then you got runners at the corners, and a base hit only scores 1, not 2. So there's a mental mistake. And let's see if Steve Trachsel can pitch through it.
He'll face Cirillo, who struck out his first time. Cirillo 0 for 5 in the series. Cubs leading 3-0, but Cirillo a chance to tie the ball game perhaps. He's hit 14 home runs this year. Two outs in the Brewer 3rd. Trachsel will work off the stretch with runners at 2nd and 3rd. The pitch. Up and in. Ball 1. Burnett's waiting on deck.
With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Jeff Cirillo has been terrific. And one of the reasons why he is that good in these situations is he'll go to right and right center field when the pitcher invariably tries to stay away. Cirillo also has a couple of home runs against Trachsel, so he can also pull the ball if he has to.
Missed inside. It's 2-0.
You do not want to get to the man in the on-deck circle. Burnitz has been murdered, especially against the right-handers of this league.
Second time through the order, a little more troublesome for Trachsel here. A walk and a single to Vina and Loretta respectively. The 2-0 to Cirillo. It's gone to 3-0.
I'm thinking even with Burnitz in the on-deck circle, they would give Cirillo a 3-0 green light here, and I think Steve Trachsel has to think along the same line. This guy can do you a lot of damage, and if Trachsel just lays one in, look for Cirillo to have a pretty good cut.
3 balls, no strikes. 3-0 Cubs. Runners 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. All this trouble coming after 2 men were down. The pitch. Green light, chopper to 3rd. Gaetti gloves it, grabs it, guns across in time. And the inning is over. They green lighted him, and the Cubs take advantage. Cirillo spikes the helmet as the Brewers are shut down again in the 3rd. Cubs by 3 after 3. Well, we've told you a couple of times that the Cubs are very encouraged by Kerry Wood's side performance today. We asked Phil Regan, the Cubs pitching coach, to evaluate what Kerry's repertoire looked like.
He was outstanding today. He threw, had a tremendous fastball. His slider was sharp. Had as good a curveball probably he's had all year. a good changeup, and he really started to open up and let the ball go. I'm not sure it would be fair to a 20, 21-year-old kid to put him on the mound when he hasn't been out there for 30 days and hasn't seen a hitter for 30 days and hasn't thrown a curveball except for one time on the side, to stick him out there in probably the biggest game of the year and put it all on his shoulders.
Steve Trachsel looks at a ball, 1 ball, 1 strike, and it's hard to argue with that logic from Phil Regan. That would be a very difficult assignment.
And reading between the lines, you would have to think that the Cubs might be interested in Carey during the playoffs if he got some pitching under his belt before then, not necessarily in a start in Houston in a critical game trying to get to the playoffs.
But as you've said, that's not as easy as a fan might think it is for a guy that's used to starting, coming out of the bullpen like he may have to do. Not a very easy task to make that adjustment. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Trachsel, leading off the Cubs top half of the 4th, 2-2.
Two of the 3 runs that have been scored were via the walk, and the other one when a double play wasn't turned. And it looked fairly innocuous at the time, but Roque couldn't locate the bag on a return throw from shortstop. That gave the Cubs another out in the 2nd inning. If he touches the bag, the Cubs come up empty. As it turns out, the Cubs get 2 runs.
Trachsel with a good at-bat going here. Got 2 runs without a hit, too. That was the amazing thing. As many men as the Cubs have left on from time to time this year, it was nice to see the Cubs score a couple without getting the big hit. 3-0 after 3. Cubs have the lead. The pitch. Steve backs away from another ball. 3-2. He walked and scored one of the Cub 3 runs. Roque has walked 6. His high for a major league game coming in was 5. He did that against the Pirates on the 7th of September. 3-2. Trachsel put his foot in the bucket and flies to shallow right. 1 away. So Trachsel goes down, but he goes down with a battle. And the Cubs bring the top of their order up. Johnson and Hernandez. Lance has doubled. He's walked. He's been stranded at third base twice. Cubs have left 5 through 3. Lance has that average up to 282. And 80 hits on the year. The pitch. Not bad for a guy who missed most of the season with that wrist problem. A strike evens the count. Roque really telegraphing that change. Missed with it. 2 balls and a strike. What a difference a half can make for you. Lance this year today is playing in his 81st game. He has scored 50 runs. The 2-1. Missed outside. 3 balls and a strike.
Well, Lentz is saying that the key for him, at least, is using that heavier bat, the 40-ounce bat that he's used to. Now he can hit the ball with a little more authority, and that's what he's done recently as the hand has felt better.
That ball rifle right back to the pitcher. How about that? 2 men out.
I don't think Roque ever saw it. I think he's fortunate that it happened to stick in the glove as Lance Johnson hits a rocket, and Roque able to snag it, but I'm not sure how. It's right back at him, and he is fortunate to have made that play. Watch it again. As Lance gets that fastball he's looking for on 3-1. And Roque, just in self-defense, gets the glove up.
Well, he could have been hurt by that ball. It was really humming back at him. So Johnson's retired for the first time. 2 men out.
One of the things that I really don't miss about pitching is right there.
Well, I can't imagine with your stuff that you ever gave up that many back up the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Hernandez grounds out to third. And the inning is over. 3 up, 3 down in the 4th. Roque with a little self-defense keeps the Cubs scoreless in the 4th inning.
Yeah, let's see if Sammy can get to 67 by the end of the day. Wouldn't that be a story if he could hit 4 home runs today?
Yeah, but they have to start pitching to him. Well,
he's walked twice.
2 walks.
That's not fair. Here's Burnitz leading off the Milwaukee 4th. Cubs enjoying a 3-0 lead. Wherever you are, we're glad you're with us. Watching the Cubs and Brewers battle at County Stadium. And Trachsel fooled in with a breaking ball, 0-1.
We'll send along birthday greetings to Ray Metzger, looking on in Pine, Arizona. His daughter Renee at the ball game today. So happy birthday, Ray.
Trachsel will go through the middle of the Brewers order here in the 4th. 4, 5, and 6. And the count now evens at a ball and a strike. The Cubs and Mets tied in the wild card. Again, if the teams finish tied, there will be a 1-game playoff Monday in New York.
Things looking a lot better than they did at the start of last night, however.
No doubt about that. The 1-1. That just missed. The amazing thing about this wild card race is the fact that the Cubs and Mets have been within a game of each other every day since the 8th of August. That's incredible.
That truly is incredible.
2-1. Foul tipped into Service's glove. 2-2. Trachsel's fooling this guy with the off-speed stuff. I don't think I'd like to throw him a fastball because he can park it a mile away. He's hit 38 bombs on the year.
He can also hit it out to left as easily as right. But I would think a forkball or the good curveball down here would probably do the trick.
A roller foul toward first. And the count stays 2-2. Well, friends, if you're looking for comprehensive coverage of the Cubs as they vie for the National League playoffs, well, Vineline, the Cubs monthly newspaper, provides a complete package of Cubs coverage for fans nationwide. Subscriptions start at only $19.95, and all 2-year subscribers get a free copy of the Ryan Sandberg commemorative program. www.cubs.com, the website to visit, or dial 773-404-CUBS to order. Burnitz not going quietly here in the 4th. With 2 lefties opposing the Cubs, Scott Service gets the back-to-back starts. Day game after a night game. He's in there again. Trachsel ready to go, and once again the 2-2 takes care of Burnitz. He swings and he misses, and for the second time he strikes out. Boy, he looked awful in that swing.
Well, we talked about getting that forkball down in the dirt, and Burnitz, a strikeout victim. As Trachsel set him up with some inside fastballs and then put him away with a good forkball and a nice stop by Scott Service as he applies the tag. So Jeremy Burnitz, no stranger to the strikeout, now fanned 153 times.
So he's retired here in the 4th for Marquise Grissom. He has one of the 2 Milwaukee hits. That hit a double with 1 out in the Brewers' 2nd. Boy, what a day here in Milwaukee. Couldn't ask for better weather.
And listening to the comments coming out of the Cub clubhouse, reading the newspapers, you can tell that every one of the Cubs is very much impressed with the effort of Terry Mulholland last night.
Unbelievable.
In what really was a critical game for the Cubs. After a 3-game losing streak and just a terrible series against Cincinnati, Terry Mulholland came out of that bullpen to get a start. And all he did was give the Cubs 8 strong innings, 1 run on 6 hits. Turned it over to Rod Beck for an inning, and the Cubs pulled even in the wild card.
He's a consummate pro, folks. 1-1. That missed. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, all of us who know Terry know that he's much happier as a starting pitcher. He realized that wasn't going to be his role this year, but he has done absolutely everything that Jim Riggleman has asked of him.
Grissom, a 1-hopper to short. Jose fields it, fires it to first in time, 2 away. Well, that's what you have to love about Terry. He wants the ball in any situation. He's not afraid to take it. He wants to start. He's made no bones about that. And when he's been given the opportunity, he's backed up his desires by pitching great baseball. He's 3-0 as a starter now.
Well, I think he's going to be a starter next year, and probably the only question is where. because he's shown that he has a lot of life left in that arm. He keeps himself in phenomenal shape, and he can throw seemingly on a daily basis and still give you a good performance.
Jeff Jenkins hits a fly ball to left that Glenn Allen Hill ought to catch. And he does. And Steve Trachsel has a very easy 1, 2, 3, 4th inning right through the heart of the Milwaukee order. On to the 5th we go. The Cubs blanking the Brew Crew 3-zip.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Hoover. Nobody gets the dirt like Hoover. Nobody.
Cubs by 3 after 4. Mark Grace leads it off here at County Stadium, and he looks at a ball with Steve Stone. Chip Carey, welcome to County Stadium. Cubs doing exactly what they had to do after that disappointing series at home. They've come out and played very well here in Brew City.
And it's really amazing how much better the team looks if they get a quality job out of the starting pitcher. Last night, Terry Mulholland. Today, it's Steve Trachsel, and he's been terrific through 4. And let's hope that continues.
Mark Grace checks his swing, hits a fly ball into shallow center that's going to be caught by Marquise Grissom, and Grace flies out for Sammy Sosa. This man is overdue, but remember, Mark McGwire went through a homerless slump, a hitting slump as well. You just hope Sammy can find himself before we head down to the Astrodome.
And the Cubs are doing it in this series really without Sammy Sosa. That's a testament to the ball club and the fans as one on their feet once again to watch this Sosa at bat. He's been up twice. He's walked twice.
And it appears that Roque is starting to find himself. He's retired the last 6 Cubs in order. Sammy has walked twice. He scored once. Sosa on the year now has walked a career high 72 times. 3-0 in favor of the Cubs. The wind, the pitch. Here's a ball. He's not giving him anything good to hit.
And the fans here, many of them Cub fans, letting their displeasure be known. A cascade of boos with every pitch out of the zone. And there's been a lot of them today to Sammy.
And now time is called. Well, maybe we need to see some more of those Waveland Avenue signs in left field. They had them out in force last night. The wide, here comes the 1-0. Swung on, belted deep toward right. Burnett's on the run toward the corner. Looks up. He did it. It's out of here. Sosa with a home run, number 64.
Sammy took it to the shortest part of the ballpark, and it's 64 and 155 for Sammy Sosa.
And Stoney, I'm sure part of that blast goes out to his island nation, the Dominican Republic, and all the folks in the Caribbean who are struggling under Hurricane George today. I know Sammy's thoughts and prayers are with everyone down south. And he's hit his 64th homer of the year in Milwaukee. And the Cubs have a 4-0 lead.
He's hit his 20th to right or right center field. And that one just kept slicing away from Burnitz. As he got to the wall, he realized that the park would not hold it.
So he ends an 0 for 21 hitless streak by hitting number 64 here in Milwaukee. And the crowd here buzzing. They saw Big Mac. And now they've seen Sammy Sosa. He's hit his 11th home run of the year against Milwaukee pitching. That's the highest total against any National League team. Long run, Loretta. He can't make the grab. And a big-time collision with Vigna, and they're still down. But everybody's all right as Hill pops it foul.
The first pitch that Sammy saw in the zone, he did what Jeff Pentland has been telling him to do. He went to right field. And with the wind blowing across and out toward right, Sammy got it up in the jet stream and got just enough to take it out.
Well, we had said it looked like he was so very pull conscious since that last home run in San Diego. If he's going to break out of that slump and start hitting homers in bunches again, that's the way he's going to be able to do it.
Maybe Roque will change his number to 64.
The 1-2. Hill tried to check his swing, could not. Swings and misses, but Hill reached first. So every break continues to go the Cubs' way. Hill strikes out, but he's aboard with one out. 64 home runs. And now one behind Mark McGwire.
Still got a long way to go in this one. Sammy's going to hit for sure one more time, possibly two more times. And here comes Ken Rowe once again to talk with Roque, who's given up 2 of Sammy's homers this year.
One, number 64 to McGwire, and one, number 64 to Sosa. I mean, folks, I can't tell you what a thrill it is every day to sit down with the statistics provided us by the National League and look at Sammy Sosa's line. A .303 batting average in 154 games, 625 at-bats, 129 runs, 190 hits, 64 homers, 155 driven in. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, that sign said it. We skipped school to see Sosa. And the fans coming out probably close to 100,000 for a 2-game series. And they got what they came for, a Sosa home run.
So Sammy has hit 64 off Roque, who also gave up the 64th to Mark McGwire. So Sammy with a 344-foot opposite field home run gives the Cubs a 4-run lead. Now Glenn Allen Hill's at first with one man out, and the Brewer bullpen starts to get busy. Gaetti hits a shot toward short. Valentin double clutch, throw to second one, and just in time to get Hill.
And what a good play by Valentin at shortstop. No chance to even think about 2, and it was very close at second base, but Tom Hallion called him out, and we'll watch it again. Into the hole with a double clutch, still a strong enough arm to get it there in time. And that was a great effort by Valentin at shortstop.
So Hill is retired. Gaetti now at first, and Mickey Morandini the batter. He has a 6-game hitting streak on the line in today's ball game. We're in the 5th. The Cubs lead by 4. Morandini high hopper over first, down the right field line. Gaetti streaks around second. He'll go to third. Morandini with a base hit. He extends his hitting streak to 7 games. And Scott Service another chance now.
And you know Mickey, who started today at 301, would love to wind up over 300 in this just a banner year that might for him culminate with a Gold Glove at second base, and that is going to be it for Roque. He will depart here in the 5th inning, trailing by at least 4 and maybe more.
He goes 4 2/3 innings. He surrenders 5 hits, 4 runs so far. The runners first and third belong to him, and now Al Reyes will come on to face Scott Service in a 4-0 Cub lead in Milwaukee. Hey, look at that smile from Sammy Sosa. He looks as if the weight of the world's been lifted off of his shoulders. So many questions asking what's wrong with Sammy after he hit 63 in San Diego. Nothing's wrong with him that an opposite field home run wouldn't and didn't cure today. He's hit 64, and now Al Reyes comes on to try to put out this fire in the 5th inning.
You look at some pretty impressive numbers. 5-1, ERA 3.95, on for the 48th time. He pitched in the ball game last night. Pitched an inning and 2/3 of perfect baseball, fanning 2, and that was it. He was the 4th Brewer pitcher last night. Here he is again today. And he'll be looking in at Scott Service with runners at the corners. But there are 2 outs.
And Cubs fans, time to get out of the cold and into the fun in sunny Arizona as your Chicago Cubs get into gear at spring training. Visit beautiful Mesa, Arizona, and watch the Cubs at their spring training home, Hohokam Park, with 12,000 great seats, including outfield lawn seating. For more information on spring training packages, call 1-800-283-MESA or visit www.cubspringtraining.com. Sosa on the left, Roque on the right.
And Sammy won the battle. He's walked twice. He's homered once. And the runners at the corners belong to him as well in a 4-0 Cub game. Scott's service is 0 for 2. And he'll bat against the right-hander here. The pitch. Off speed, strike one.
Reyes has a couple of wild pitches this year. And the Cubs would like to pile it on against the Brewers. You get a team out of contention down early and down by enough, and more times than not, it's a relatively easy day for your pitcher.
The 0-1. Line drive into center field. Base hit by Service. That'll score. Gaetti, and the Cubs have a 5-0 lead. Morandini stops at second. Service drives home number 36. And the Cubs making a statement to New York that weekend series at home against the Reds might have been an aberration.
Well, it's certainly at this point forgotten, as they came up here with the express purpose of winning 2 games and then move on to Houston.
So Trachsel hits for himself here. Runners first and second, 2 away, and he rolls that ball foul for strike 1. Trachsel has walked and scored, and he's flied out to right. He's got a 5-run bulge, and he'll face the lower third of the Milwaukee order in the 5th. 5 runs on 6 Cub hits today. The 0-1 is low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, one thing's for sure, you know the Mets are watching this ball game, but you also know how well they have played the last couple of weeks of this season. That New York team and this Cub team both deserve big tips of the cap for what has been an incredible race. Trachsel looping liner over second. You can't get it. Morandini will score. It's 6-0. Trachsel drives home his 8th. Service romps all the way to third and close the book on Roque. 6 runs, 5 of them earned.
His inside fastball results in a broken bat, but a run batted in, as the Cubs have a huge lead here in the 5th. And the Cubs not done yet. Runners at the corners. And Lance Johnson, who's hitting everything lately right on the button, with a chance to add to that lead.
And Sammy Sosa got the parade started by hitting that opposite field home run, snapping an 0 for 21 slide. And he's going to get a couple more at bats. And Stoney, you know it's a big game when WGN sports superstar Dan Roan is at the ballpark. He's calling home, said, "Hey guys, did you see the home run?" Dan will be accompanying us to Houston for that big series against the Astros. Here's Johnson. And he looks outside. Rich King was up here as well. So WGN Sports well represented here in Milwaukee, and we look for the same down in Texas. The 1-0. Good off-speed pitch. The count now even, a ball and a strike. Trachsel leads from first. Service from third. The Brewer bullpen still busy. Reyes sets and fires. Swung on, hit high in the air into right center field. Marquise Grissom hauls it in, and the inning is over. The Cubs scored 3 times on 4 hits. The big crowd came to see Sammy swat one, and he complied with number 64. Halfway home, it's the Cubs by 5. After the Cubs half of the 5th, it's a 6-run lead, 6-0. And here come the Brewers, the lower portion of their order. Steve Trachsel in front of these Cub cheeseheads in 98. Have seen Sammy Sosa hit his 64th home run of the year. And things going the Cubs' way today. Again, the Mets play tonight against Montreal at Shea Stadium. Then it'll be a 3-game showdown.
And Sammy will be up again in the 6th. And most likely again in the 9th. 2 more at bats today, you would think, the way the Cubs are swinging the bat.
And partner, I hope your gizmo is in good order for that flight down to Houston, because there'll be a lot of folks checking their beepers to see what's going on with New York and Montreal tonight. Valentin, the shortstop, leads it off. He grounded out to first back in the second inning. Trachsel has a gigantic 6-run lead, and that should be caught in shallow left. Who wants it? Jose Hernandez, the shortstop, calls Hill off. And 2 pitches, 1 out. 5 in a row retired by Trachsel, who's gunning for his 15th win of the year. Bobby Hughes, the catcher, will stand in now. He grounded out to second his first time up. The Cubs have scored 6 times on 7 hits.
And they have taken advantage of just about every break the Brewers have given them in this short 2-game series.
That's what good teams are supposed to do.
Indeed it is, and that's what they've done.
Bobby Hughes looks in and looks at a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, this Milwaukee team really misses John Jaha and his power. He's out for the year. He's got a sprained foot. He won the Clemente Award for the Milwaukee team, their Good Guy Award. Was not here to receive the honor. They've got a decision to make about what he will do for the Milwaukee Ball Club, if anything, in 1999.
Well, it was a very disappointing year this year. He hit just .208, and you can tell he was feeling the effects of that injury.
2 balls, no strikes. That ball skied down the right side and into the seats. It's kind of funny how things work, and of course hindsight's always 20/20 in a situation like this, but Nilsson and Jaha were making a combined $7 million a year. The Brewers traded away Greg Vaughn because he was making $5 million. Had Milwaukee kept Vaughn, and had he had the kind of year he had for the Padres, you wonder how much better Milwaukee would have been for a lot less money. It's funny how things work out. The 2-1 is popped up on the infield. Easy play for Mark Grace. He's under it. And there are 2 outs. Boy, Trachsel just saying, here it is, boys. Hit it if you can.
What he's doing today, unlike some of his other starts, he's throwing that high fastball by design. When he gets ahead of the hitters, he's throwing some face-high fastballs. They can't do anything with it except pop it straight up. And I would assume we're going to see a pinch hitter.
Reyes is scheduled, but he will be lifted. He went a third of an inning. Gave up 2 hits, no runs. No walks or strikeouts. Okay, walked 6 for Milwaukee, a season high. And we're still waiting to see who the new pinch hitter for Milwaukee will be.
We know Kevin Tapani on Friday, and it could very well be Mark Clark on Saturday.
We're back at it Friday evening from Houston. 7 o'clock our airtime. Kevin Tapani against Jose Lima. Tapani once again will try to win number 20. And we're still waiting for an announcement out of the Brewer dugout as to who the pinch hitter will be.
Well, they have 500 people down there with the expanded rosters. Just pick one of them, Phil.
Marcus Jensen will be the man.
The young man came up with the San Francisco Giants with a lot of promise as a switch-hitting catcher, but he's made the rounds since then. And I saw Jim Lefevre working with him in batting practice before the ball game yesterday. And he thinks that Jensen has a chance to be pretty good, especially from the left side where he has a whole lot more power than he does from the right side.
So Trachsel will take a couple of extra warm-up tosses as the Brewers took their sweet time naming Jensen to pinch hit, but he'll stride at the plate with 2 outs and the base is empty. It's all Cubs, 6-0 here in the 5th. So Jensen ready to go. So is Trachsel, who's mowed down 6 men in a row. Trachsel kicks and fires and misses with the ball. Well, our thanks as always to our great WGN crew today at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Our producers, John Walgren, Mark Brady, the commander, Pete Toma, Arnie Harris, of course. Great pictures and sounds from this 2-game set in Bruce City, and more fun we hope to follow down in the Dome. Bob Borwald is here, so you do know it is a big ball game. The 2-0. That caught the edge. 2 balls and a strike. Two and two. Boy, he's had every pitch at his disposal today, hasn't he?
And Forkwell's been terrific, and he's controlled the outside corner to both the left and right-hand hitters. Steve Trachsel has everything going for him, including those 6 runs up on the board.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Marcus Jensen. And he just did get a piece. Crowd quieted, but they'll roar when Sammy comes a-calling in the Cubs' 6th. 6-0 Cub lead. Steve Trachsel trying to win number 15. The 2-2. Full count now, 3 balls, 2 strikes with Fernando Vina, the second baseman, waiting to hit next.
Right here, you just have to throw it down the middle. You have a 6-run lead. If he hits it, he hits it. Going to be an inside fastball. Let's see if he can get around on it.
He couldn't. It hit service right in the mitt. Jensen strikes out. Scott will throw him out at first. And the inning is over. Trachsel is retired 7 in a row. He struck out 5, and after 5, Cubs lead it by 6. 6-0 after 5. And a new pitcher for Milwaukee, right-hander Rod Henderson.
Henderson worked the majority of this year at AAA Louisville. And he threw the ball very well. 11-5 in 22 appearances, 19 starts. He had a .297 ERA. He gets the ball over the plate. And he did pick up 2 innings on Sunday. But he did give up a home run to Ron Gant. And Sammy for MVP, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And it was echoed earlier, if you didn't hear the beginning of the broadcast, by none other than Tony La Russa, who had a great view of Mark McGwire all year long. But he said for his vote, it would be Sammy for the MVP. And we certainly wholeheartedly agree with it.
Here's Jose. He walked with the bases loaded back in the second inning and drove home his 75th run of the year. He's 0 for 2 with that walk in RBI, however, and the Cubs enjoying a 6-0 lead. Ball 2 misses inside. Big Cubs fan Debbie Swenson from Madison, Wisconsin is here, cheering on the Cubs at County Stadium. Bouncing ball up the middle. Oh, what a play, Valentin. He'll skip the throw at first, and Loretta, what a snag over at the first base bag for out number 1.
Off balance throw by Valentin, and Mark Loretta, a jack of all trades, saves him an error. Good pickup by Loretta. And they retire Jose for the 3rd time. And your first baseman's your best friend when you make throws like that.
Big Cub fan Rita Kelly, 78 years young, watching the Cubs in Tinley Park today.
And another huge Cub fan, Sarah Davis, the ever-present Sarah Davis, in the hotel, cheering on the Cubs and hoping that they can win. And it appears that they're going to do just that.
It's 6-0. And Grace takes a ball. Jack and Evelyn Egan of Sterling, Illinois, celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary today. It's also Evelyn's 77th birthday. Wow, how about that? 2 big milestones. Happy anniversary and happy birthday. Jack and Evelyn Egan. 2 balls, 1 strike to Grace. Swung on, hit high in the air toward left. Jenkins charges in, puts it away, and there's out number 2. Sammy Sosa homer last time up. Here's another look at number 64.
Sammy finally goes to right field and finds that you can hit it 344 feet, and it still counts. As that one lost in the crowd, number 64, and could 65 be far behind?
Well, you've always seen Sammy hit his home runs in bunches.
You've seen him go to right field more, I would guess, this year than at any other time in his pro career with the Cubs.
More to right field this year than maybe his whole career with the Cubs. And that's what set up the fact that he's hit over 300 all season long. You know he wants to wind up over 300 because he has shed the tag as just a pure slugger, and he's acquired the tag as most likely the MVP.
Breaking ball for a strike from the big right-hander. It's 0-1. 64 and 155 for slamming Sammy Sosa. The 0-1. Breaking ball had a home run cut. It's 0-2. I want to check his spine, man. He's really had a vicious cut at that ball. And he does a little back bend out of the batter's box to collect himself down 2 strikes.
We saw Barry Bonds leave the ball game last night after taking a pitch. His back stiffened up on him as the Giants stayed in the race, just 2.5 back and 2 back in the loss column.
0-2. Another off-speed pitch sails outside. The other big story, the Texas Rangers. Well, they're playing great at the right time. Texas with a 2-game lead now over Anaheim, and Rick Helling picked up his 20th win for the Rangers last night.
And also a big story, acquiring Todd Stottlemyre. He's thrown the ball very well, and he won a huge game for them against the Angels.
1-2 is rolled foul. Sammy checks the bat, thought for a moment he might have broken it, but no problem there. 1-2.
Well, he tried to sneak a high fastball by him. You got to believe that he's going to go back to the curveball. At least I would think so.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Sammy digs in. Here it comes. Whoa, it just missed. Oh, man. It's 2-2. Unbelievable. Staggering numbers. The 2-2. Breaking ball had a good rip. Boy, he keeps going to the well with that curveball. Sammy is going to get a fat one, and he's going to rip it someplace. Every day's been a bright, sunshiny day for Sammy Sosa here in '98. A year that we may never see the likes of again. The 2-2. Swung, belted, line drive, center field. Grissom back. He did it. Number 65, and there is no doubt about it.
Boy, Sammy just exploded that one into straightaway center field, and you knew as soon as he started hitting to right that stroke would come back to him, and all Marquise Grissom could do was look up. That was a line drive rocket. He's tied Big Mac. Wow, what a bomb. 156 and 65 for Sammy Sosa. Chip, that's 11 multi-homer games for Sammy Sosa. It ties a major league record. And don't turn it off, folks. He's going to hit one more time today.
I'm just speechless. For a guy that looked like he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat for a while, he has gotten red hot in 2 successive at-bats. Glenn Allen Hill was robbed by Cirillo, who's trying to win a Gold Glove. Glenn Allen can't believe that. And, folks, I can't believe what I just saw Sammy Sosa do. He's hit his 2nd home run in as many at-bats. He's tied Mark McGwire with number 65, and the Cubs are routing Milwaukee at County Stadium.
Well, after this game, Sammy's going to say, Arnie Harris, I couldn't have done it without you. 11 multi-homer games. He's hit his 65th of the year.
that ball got out so quickly that Grissom was able to take a step and a half back, and that was it. It was in the center field seats. And that's 402 to straightaway center. That was a bomb.
Vigna breaks his bat, bounces to Morandini. 1 pitch, 1 out. That's one of those shots that were Grandpa here, and goodness knows I wish he were. He would have gotten it.
Yeah, you
would have gotten to the might be at all.
You get the it could be first, and that would have been it.
Wow. Unbelievable. 7-0 in favor of the Cubs. Sosa has homered in successive at-bats. He has tied Mark McGwire with 65 on the year.
Well, Henderson missed with a curveball. Then Sammy spoiled a fastball, and then he got a fastball out over the plate, and he didn't miss it.
Mark Loretta looks at a strike.
Oh, and by the way, it's 7-0. Steve Trachsel has a 2-hitter.
Oh.
As an aside to the Sammy Sosa show this year.
Well, so many individual accomplishments have been overshadowed by Sosa. Morandini should win a Gold Glove. Kevin Tapany's got a shot to win 20.
Kerry Wood, most likely the Rookie of the Year, even though he will have missed probably a month of this season. But more important, for the win here today, the Cubs will have a half-game lead in the wild card, trying to get a ticket to the dance.
And if you wonder what's going on with Big Mac, well, the Cardinals play tonight. Randy Johnson and the Astros will face the Cardinals. A high hopper to short on the 0-2 pitch to Loretta. He's taken care of without any trouble. It'll be Randy Johnson going for his 10th National League win against Darren Oliver, and the Astros will try to win their 100th game for the first time in franchise history. How about this? Milwaukee's County Stadium has seen 2 number 65s in a week. Yeah, but Sammons was hit a lot harder than that one. Unbelievable. Well, they said in St. Louis when Mark McGwire made that magic. As Cirillo stands in, would it be something if they finished the year tied? I mean, there's a certain amount of poetic justice if that were the case. I'd love to see Sammy get the record all by himself. Don't make any bones about it, but no matter who ends up with more home runs, they both have won the hearts, the minds, and the imaginations of the American sporting public with unbelievable years.
A reporter yesterday asked me, how long do you think this particular record will stand? And I said, I guess it really all depends on if it's going to be as hot next year. Will the ball be as lively next year?
A fly ball into center. Well, let's put it this way. If it lasts 37 years, again, I'll be 70 when the record is tied or broken. That is terrifying. Brewers go out in order. 1, 2, 3 in the 6th. Amazingly, Cubs enjoying a 7-0 lead. On today's Discover Card Payback Playback, Orlando Merced capped one of the Cubs' most dramatic wins of the season with a 3-run homer in the 9th inning 11 days ago. The Cubs battled back from a 10-2 deficit to beat Milwaukee 15-12 on September 12th at the friendly confines. Another amazing Cub comeback. Today's Discover Card Payback Playback. 7-0 Cubs as we head to the 7th. Gary Gaetti leads it off and looks at a ball high. 2 balls and a strike. Well, they're building beautiful Miller Park across the street. I don't know if they're going to let them tear this place down. It's going to be on the National Register of Historic Places. Line drive left field.
Well, a couple more base hits, and our projections show us that Sammy will come to bat in the 8th inning. And now they're going to pinch run for Gary Gaetti, and it's going to be Manny Alexander. So Gary with a couple of hits and a walk today. He scored 1 run, and the day is done for Gaetti, who's just been brilliant since putting on a Cub uniform, and he gets a good hand from the Cub faithful who made the trip north and were rewarded by 2 Sosa home runs, the second of which was just a line drive rocket to straightaway center.
That ball was maybe the hardest hit. The one he hit in Colorado off the scoreboard, and the shot he hit in San Diego. Those were 3 rockets, but everything he hit seems to go out hard. And that
As you said, Steve, that shot he didn't hit it all that hard. That ball he hit to right field, it just kind of curled over the fence. But whatever he did with that at bat, it got his timing down, has got his confidence up, and he's homered twice today. All it takes is one, and he hits them in bunches.
And the key with Sammy is when you see him hitting the ball to right field, you know that that stroke is getting right where he wants it to be, and he showed it to you the next at bat.
1-1, way outside. That is incredible. 2 balls and a strike. Swung on, hit high in the air. That's deep toward right. Burnett's drifting back at the edge of the track. He's got it. And Morandini flies out.
Mickey making a bid for his career high 9th home run. Of course, every home run now is a career high for him, but he falls a couple of feet short.
So there's one away. Alexander retreats to first, and Scott Service stands in. Valerio De Los Santos will start to loosen up in the Milwaukee pen. They got some guys with some great names down there.
That's a good one.
De Los Santos.
Bronswell Patrick is a good name.
I like Rafael Roque for the Brewers, who started today.
The Cubs have liked him in his 2 starts also.
Yes, they have. And that hits Scott on the arm. He'll take first base on the hit batsman. First and second, one out. And again, that makes all these fans happy, for it ensures that Sosa will have at least one more at bat today.
But I don't think I've seen any player cheered for getting hit as Mark Grace was cheered for getting hit last night to allow Sammy to come to the plate one more time.
So as Steve Trachsel stands in, let's pause quickly for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
County Stadium, an historic sight again today. Sammy Sosa's hit a couple of home runs. Steve Trachsel has retired 10 men in a row. He's got a 2-hit shutout working, and now Don Rowe once again makes the slow walk out of the Milwaukee dugout and out to the pitcher's mound here.
Hope he has a lot of tread on those shoes, because he's made a tremendous amount of trips to the mound in the couple of series the Cubs and the Brewers have played. Sammy has hit 12 home runs against his Brewer pitching staff. 12 home runs in 1 year against one staff. And I guess it would be out of the question to invite that staff to Houston to pitch against us down there.
Well, we can invite them, but I don't think they'll be allowed to accept. I mean, Bud Selig used to own the Brewers. He's now the commissioner of baseball. He's got a lot of pull, but I don't think he has quite that much.
I think Phil Garner, when this season is over, won't even want to look at a picture of Sammy Sosa. I think he's seen quite enough of him for 1 year, and enough of the home run trots.
Nobody could have imagined this kind of year from Sammy Sosa. That's what's really made it so fun in watching this happen for him. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, here's an amazing stat. Is the 12 home runs against one team by Sammy Sosa is the most by one player against one team since 1961, when Roger Maris had 13 homers against one team. That's just astounding. He has murdered this pitching staff.
And he's got another shot at him in today's ball game. 1-1. Trachsel hits a chopper toward third. Out at second, Rhea to first is not in time. Trachsel hustling down the line, keeps the inning alive. Service is forced at second, 5-4, I believe. And Trachsel's at first.
Well, the projections will hold. Sammy will come to bat in the 8th inning.
And that's going to do it for Mr. Henderson. He'll work an inning and 2/3. He's given up 1 run. 2 hits. The runners at the corners belong to him. And Valerio De Los Santos will come on and face Lance Johnson in a 7-0 Cub lead. Sammy
Sammy Sosa just biding his time, waiting for one more shot at Milwaukee today. We're in the top half of the 7th, and Valerio de los Santos will come on and become the 4th Brewer pitcher on the afternoon.
The National League record of homering against one team is held by both Hank Sauer and Joe Adcock. Hank Sauer hit 13 against Pittsburgh in 1954. Adcock also hit 13 against the Brooklyn Dodgers. And Sammy will get at least one more swing.
And folks, 4 games counting today left in the season. And what a raucous Cubs convention we're going to have, celebrating what we hope will be a playoff appearance by the Cubs. The 14th Annual Cubs Convention, January 15th through the 17th, 1999 at the Chicago Hilton and Towers. Get your reservations now. Dial 312-922-4400, and for tickets, 312-831-CUBS. I'm really looking forward to my first Cubs convention. Stoney, I hope you'll be there as well, and hopefully we'll have an awful lot of fun reminiscing about what's been a most remarkable 1998 campaign.
There's been so many thrills this year that it's one of those seasons that you just don't want to see end. And the Cubs are trying to hold up their part. They have a tie right now, trying to go ahead by a half game and take this miraculous, magical year into the postseason.
So De Los Santos continues his warm-ups for Milwaukee. The big story, Sammy Sosa was 0 for 21. He walked his first 2 times up today. The Cubs had a big 3-0 lead in the 5th inning. 1 out, bases empty. And Sammy hit a 1-0 pitch over the boards in right field, snapping an 0 for 21 slide. It was his 64th home run, and that really got him going. For the next time up in the 6th, he hit one of the hardest balls we have seen him hit this year, straight out over the fence in center field to tie Mark McGwire for the Major League lead. Wow. Here's Lance Johnson. Lance has doubled. He's walked. He's lined out to the pitcher, and he's flying to center. A lefty-lefty matchup here for Johnson, who's hitting .280 on the campaign. The delivery. Here's a ball, 1-0.
De Los Santos has given up 4 home runs in just 21 1/3 inning. But in this, his 13th appearance, the ERA pretty good at .295. Base runners at the corners.
The 1-0. A chopper is into the seats. Kind of funny, you mentioned Lance using a much heavier bat now. That tells you that his wrist is feeling better. He's much stronger, of course. But late in the season, Steve, a lot of hitters go to lighter bats because they're so weary at the end of the year.
And don't forget that Lance has not had a full year, just 285 at bats, and that's for him about a half a season.
2 balls and a strike. Well, he'll have another year left on his contract for 1999. This is a man that has led both leagues in hits before. I don't think that's ever been done before. So Johnson with a full season in 1999, certainly looking for loftier totals than what he's been able to put together here in 98. The 2-1 is upstairs. 3 balls and a strike. We have an off day tomorrow. We'll be in Houston. Then Friday, 7 o'clock, Kevin Tampany against Jose Lima. Then after that, we will see the 3-1. 3-2. The news encouraging about Kerry Wood. He said his arm felt great. He threw all of his pitches. He threw them all effectively. Now the decision becomes that of the manager, Jim Riggleman, and the Cubs front office. The runner at first goes. The 3-2 fouled back. And the decision, of course, is whether or not to pitch Kerry Wood in what could be the most important ball game of the year sometime in Houston. Has not pitched in about a month. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out. The pitch swung on, hit into the air to right center field. Grissom on the run. He's under it. He has it. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, 2 men left. 7th inning stretch time in Milwaukee. It's all Cubs. 7-0. Alexander stays in the game for the Cubs. He'll play shortstop. Jose moves from short to third base. And there you see the defensive change for the Cubs. And Steve Trachsel goes back to work in the bottom of the 7th inning. He has a 2-hit shutout working through 6. And he'll face the middle of the Milwaukee order here.
And the big difference today for Steve Trachsel, unlike the last start, he's been ahead of just about all of the Brewer hitters. He's thrown strike one quite a bit. And he's gotten everything over the plate. He's hit his spots. He's moved the ball in and out, up and down. And he's been in control from the first inning on.
And isn't it funny, for those of us who don't understand pitching like you do, how that feel is so fleeting. It comes and goes. Steve couldn't get the ball over the plate if he prayed for it, if he tried. In his last start today, he's been strike one, strike two on everybody.
Some days you just feel a little bit better. You have better rhythm. He had good rhythm right from the opening inning where he went 1, 2, 3 with Vina, Loretta, and Cirillo. Some pretty good hitters.
Well, Loretta, the last man to reach. That was with a single in the 3rd inning. Now it's Jeremy Burnitz in. Steve Trachsel's gotten this guy out with forkballs in the dirt. He struck out twice. Once looking, once swinging. No balls and a strike. 7-0 Cubs. Breaking ball. And quickly 0-2. And folks, don't forget, we will be sticking with it here on WGN at the end of our ball game. We will carry Sammy Sosa's press conference for you live from County Stadium. We'll also, I'm sure, talk with Steve Trachsel, I would imagine, probably Jim Riggleman down in the catacombs of the stadium. So you'll want to stay tuned to see Sammy's reaction to his monumental day today, the 0-2. That just missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He got Burnitz once on a fastball inside, the second time on a forkball swinging, and it's a good time for another forkball here down.
1-2. It was down, and he just got a piece. Boy, fans emailing in, Steve, just their amazement at Sammy Sosa. And big Cub fan Greg Costa out in Los Angeles said he agrees with you. He doesn't want this season to end. He writes, a new level of reassurance as to why fans everywhere love the game of baseball, with what that man has done, with what Mark McGwire has done, what Ken Griffey Jr. has done for Seattle. Boy, what a magical time to be a baseball fan and to be a part of this great game of ours. It is incredible.
Of course, a wild card race in the National League has been certainly as hotly contested for the last 7 weeks as you could possibly imagine, with the 1-game difference between the Mets and the Cubs leapfrogging one another, neither team able to pull away or put any daylight between themselves and the other ball club, and that makes for just a great race.
1 ball, 2 strikes. A little pop into shallow right. Mickey going out, still going, can't get there. Burnitz dunks a soft single leading off the 7th inning. That's the first base hit for Milwaukee since the 3rd inning.
Burnitz doesn't get a whole lot of it. It's a fastball, and he gets it off the end of the bat, but he gets it just far enough. Mickey can't get to it, and Burnitz is aboard.
For Marquise Grissom, who has doubled and has grounded out to the shortstop. Our senior producer director of Cubs baseball is Arnie Harris. Today's game produced by John Walgren. Our field producer is the commander, Pete Toma. Our associate producer is Mark Brady. Kim Fields is our coordinating producer, and the executive producer of WGN Sports is Bob Borwald. And that's fouled away by Grissom, 0-1. Montreal at New York later on. One other game of wild card implication. Pirates lead the Giants 1-0 in the 4th inning out in San Francisco. The Giants 2.5 games back in the wild card, and only 2 back in the loss column. The 0-1 popped him up. Grace a long run though. Can he get there in time? No. It'll skip into the seats, and Grissom down 2 strikes. 7 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Cubs. 0-3-1 for Milwaukee. Trachsel a 3-hit blanking of Milwaukee. And Sammy 2 home runs today. No balls, 2 strikes. The pitch is high. The McGill family here in Milwaukee wants to send along their greetings to Betty McGill. Bob, Julie, and Amber McGill say hello to Betty, watching the game down in Ellenton, Florida. She never misses a Cubs broadcast. So, Betty, hope you're enjoying a great Cubs game in Milwaukee today. The 1-2 to Marquise evens the count at 2-2. Bit of a chill in the afternoon now as we move towards the 3:30 mark. Here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the 2-2 is in the dirt. 3 balls, 2 strikes. No activity in the Cub pen. Trachsel has the big lead. He's only walked 1 man. He's given up just 3 base hits.
Steve does have 1 complete game this year. The entire Cubs staff with 7. The entire Brewers staff with just 2 complete games all year long. And that will put a little strain on your pen.
3-2. The runner doesn't go. The pitch lined into right field for a base hit. So Grissom singles. 2 are on. None is out. And here's the left fielder, Jeff Jenkins.
It's really just the second time today that Steve Trachsel has had any problems. He got Cirillo on a 3-0 pitch with runners at second and third in the 3rd inning. Pitched himself out of a jam there and trying to do the same thing here.
And by the way, Stoney, one more note on that Sosa home run. That was the 209th hit by the Cubs this year. That ties their franchise single season record. Amazing.
And who will set the record? Maybe Sammy next inning.
I was going to say, if it was an opportunity to bet the mortgage, I would say my chips would be on the Cubs right field. Then again, you can't count out Mickey Boom Boom Morandini. He's got tremendous pop.
One big difference: when that record was set in 1987, the Cubs finished last. In 98, they will finish well above that.
2 balls, no strikes. Now the Cub bullpen starts to get busy. The same for Milwaukee as we move toward the bottom of their order. And Phil Regan on his way out to talk with Steve.
Phil's been relatively quiet in this series, with Terry Mulholland going 8 innings yesterday and really in very little trouble at all, limiting them to just 6 singles. The bullpen wasn't doing much, and Steve Trachsel has been in control, and the bullpen hasn't done much here today.
Well, he was wasting away down to nothing practically in Chicago with Cincinnati in town. And this a very, well, tattooed list of pitchers in the National League.
Well, they gave up the home runs to the 2 guys with 65. There's no shame there because there's a lot of other names on that list. And you've got Jose Lima, and he will be the man who will face Sammy on Friday night as he goes against Kevin Tapani.
2-0 to Jenkins. He is outside. 3-0. It's 7-0, but Milwaukee can get back in things pretty quickly if somebody pops one here in their half of the 7th. Jenkins is 0 for 2 on the day. 3-0. Right through there, 3 balls and a strike.
Karshner and Heredia throwing in the pen.
Three balls, 1 strike. The pitch. Lined out of play. Steve's battled back to make it a full count, 3-2.
Nothing, a little ground ball here wouldn't help. Jenkins has grounded into 5 of them this year. Actually make that 7. And of course Trachsel would like to make it 8. He's thrown a few more ground balls today than he normally does, and one here would be welcome.
Three-2. He lost him. Bases loaded now for Milwaukee, and there's nobody out. Jenkins at first, Grissom to second, Brunitz to third.
Well, in a situation where Milwaukee was a little closer, you're probably not going to see Trachsel against Valentin from the left side. You would see Heredia, and they turn around Valentin from the right side. But you have a 7-run lead. And so, for the moment, Jim Riggleman is going to let Steve Trachsel try to extricate himself from this very dangerous situation here in the Brewer half of the 7th inning.
The Cubs at normal depth, they'll concede a run to get a ground ball and a double play chance here. The pitch is a strike. It gets ahead of Valentin. It's 0-1. The Brewers have loaded the bases. Trachsel has surrendered just 4 hits today. Milwaukee's left 3 on base. Here at County Stadium, Cubs have a big 7-0 lead. The pitch. In the dirt, 1 ball, 1 strike. The catcher, Bobby Hughes, waiting on deck. Trachsel taking his time now. 1-1 to the Brewers shortstop. Here it is. He missed low again. 2 balls and a strike.
If you do go to a fastball here to Valentin, make sure it's away. You want him to try to pull it, which he will from the left side, and that's how you get your ground ball to the right side.
The 2-1 pitch. Here it is. Pulled. Down the line, fair. 1 run scores. Grissom rounds third. He's going to make it. Jenkins will stop at third. It's a double, and still nobody out. The ball gets away from Grace for a moment. No further advance, and the Brewers have scored 2.
RBIs 47 and 48 for Valentin, and he did pull the ball, but unfortunately he pulled it right down the line. So Trachsel got this one out over the plate, and Valentin gets out ahead of it, takes it by a diving Mark Grace. And for the first time, the Brewers are on the board. But runners at second and third, and now it's a 5-run game.
2 singles, a walk, and now a double by Valentin brings Hughes up. He's 0 for 2. (7-2) Cubs lead. Missed inside. Ball 1. Can't count out these Brewers. We saw what they did to the Cubs pitching staff in Chicago. Trachsel had him shut down through 6, but he's run into 7th inning trouble here. The 1-0. Swung a line hard to left. Hill is there. He's got it. Tagging from third is Jenkins. He will score without a play. It's sacrifice fly, and it's now a 7-3 game, and there's only 1 man out.
RBI number 29 for Bobby Hughes. And now we'll have to see who the pinch hitter will be. Looks like Dave Nielsen will be called on a pinch hit.
And that's exactly who it will be. So Nielsen will come on. This year is a pinch hitter for Milwaukee. Nielsen 3 for 11 overall on the year. .269 with 12 homers and 56 batted in. So the Cubs sticking with Trachsel here. Runner at second, 1 out, 3 runs in. It's a 7-3 Cub advantage.
Wilson's going back to the dugout. Maybe he grabbed the wrong bat.
The Brewers have had a little trouble with their pinch hitters in this game. Marcus Jensen, it took a long time for him to be announced. Nilsson was announced, I believe, and now he's been called back.
First time I've seen a pinch hitter announced walk up there, no pitching change. And then they change hitters. That's kind of an unusual move by Phil Garner. And it's Brian Banks. So you lose Nielsen and use Banks without any pitching changes at all.
I don't think I've ever seen that. So the Brewers waste a pinch hitter for no apparent reason. They bring on Banks for Nilsson.
And Banks came through with a pinch hit last night, got a first ball fastball down and out over the plate. And he drove it into right field. And that coming in the 9th inning against Rod Beck.
Well, I imagine Garner sent Nilsson up, hoping to get Trachsel out of the game and get Heredia in. Then he would have brought in Banks to face the left-hander. That didn't work out. So now he brings Banks in the same situation. Trachsel in the game, however, and he misses outside with a ball. 1-0.
Banks is a switch hitter, but he's a little better hitter from the left side.
Still don't know why he didn't just send him up there in the first place.
Most unusual move by old Scrap Iron.
1 ball, no strikes. Runner at second, 1 away, and that's right through there. Good pitch. Count evens 1-1. Banks hitting in the number 9 spot for Milwaukee. Scrappy Fernando Vina is waiting on deck. What was a 7-0 Cub runaway has suddenly gotten a little tighter. It's 7-3. We're in the 7th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Outside, 2-1. The Cubs need Trachsel to get through this 7th inning.
Looking ahead to the Cub 8th, it's Hernandez, Grace, and Sammy Sosa.
So don't go anywhere, folks. A lot of excitement left here at County Stadium. Valentin at second. The 2-1 is low and away. 3 balls and a strike. Now you're getting to a point, Stoney, where you can't afford to be much more patient much longer.
No, if you don't get Banks, then you got to believe it'll be Heredia against Vina.
3 balls, 1 strike. Trachsel was cruising right along. He set down 10 in a row. He's given up 3 hits, a walk, and 3 runs here in the 7th. The pitch. Line drive down the right field line, but he hooked it foul. And the count moves full now, 3-2. If ever Steve needed a strikeout, this would be the spot for it. Three balls, 2 strikes. Banks ready. The pitch from Steve. Bouncing, or a line drive, I should say, right up the middle. Base hit. Lance Johnson will not have a play. Got to get him out of there now at 7-4. He has totally lost it here in the 7th inning.
Banks comes through with his 2nd pinch hit in as many days, driving home run number 5. All 5 is a pinch hitter, so that will indeed be it. And Steve Trachsel will depart. He was not able to survive the 7th inning. And he'll leave with 1 out and Banks at first.
So Milwaukee has scored 4 times. It was 7-0 at the 7th inning stretch, but Steve Trachsel's given up 4 runs, 4 hits, and a walk here in the 7th. He leaves with a runner at first and 1 man out. He does qualify for the win, but the Cubs pen will have to nail it down for him here at County Stadium. Phoenix Alex Heredia takes over for the Cubs. 1 on, 1 out, 4 in the Milwaukee 7th inning. And Stoney, a tough assignment. 1, 2, and 3 in the Brewers batting order.
Felix on for the 70th time combined between the Marlins and the Cubs. A 3-3 record, a 5.09 ERA. And you're going to have to watch the bunt from Vina. They need base runners. And you've got a new third baseman in Jose Hernandez, who shifted over when Manny Alexander pinch ran for Gary Gaiety, so he'll have to play tight, and Mark Grace will have to hold Banks at first.
So Trachsel, 101 pitches in 6 innings and a third, 6 hits, 4 runs so far. The man at first is his responsibility. He walked a couple of men and struck out 5 in the game. So it's Heredia against Vina now. Vina today 0 for 2 with a walk. He's 0 for 6 in the series. And the first pitch misses outside. When you work with the top of the order, you think about Cirillo and Brnitz. Another huge crowd in Milwaukee today. The stretch, the 1-0. Bad miss. Come on, Felix, 2-0.
If you don't get him, you're going to have to go to the right-hander against Loretta and Cirillo. But bear in mind, they've got Bob Hamlin on the bench. And he's got 4 pinch home runs this year. So with expanded rosters, there's still a lot of thunder on that bench for Phil Garner.
Game getting a little too close for comfort here. 2 balls, no strikes. That's right through there, 2-1. It's Vina against Heredia. How about a ground ball double play right here? Over 97,000 came to see the 2-game series between the Cubs and Brewers. 45,338 today. The stretch now, the 2-1 to Vina. Line drive into left field. Base hit. The tying run's coming to the plate. First batter faced. Heredia gives up a single to left.
Well, I know you got Brnitz in the 4 spot, but you can't allow Heredia to face Loretta and Cirillo, not as the tying runs. So I think that will probably be it for Felix, who does not get the job done, and in comes Matt Karchner.
So Heredia doesn't get the job done. He faces one man. He gets a hit, and it's Karchner against Loretta, and he represents what could be the tying run. The elusive art of pitching. Steve Trachsel was cruising right along through 6. He had set down 10 in a row, and then the wheels absolutely fell off the wagon here in the 7th inning. He's given up 4 runs. He departs. Heredia left after giving up a hit. Now Matt Karchner facing Loretta, who represents the potential tying run. What was a 7-0 Cub game is now in jeopardy.
Matt Karchner at 3-1, ERA 5.26, on for the 27th time as a Cub. And he inherits base runners at first and second. He has faced Loretta. And Loretta 1 for 2 with a home run against him. And he has faced Cirillo. He's 2 for 6 against him. And that's the man in the on-deck circle. And you don't want to even think about having this inning progress to Jeremy Brnitz, who led everything off with a little soft blooping base hit what seemed like hours ago.
What an agonizing bottom half of the 7th. So here's Loretta. Karch, if you ever had a ground ball double play in your repertoire, this would be a pretty good option to use right now. A high fly ball hit to right. Sammy drifts back. He's going to make the grab. There's the second out. And maybe a break right there as Loretta swings at the first ball and flies to right for out number 2. And now it's Cirillo against Karchner. And he's the 9th man to bat in the inning.
Well, you've got Haney loosening up in the bullpen, and you figure if you don't get Cirillo, we'll probably see Haney against Brnitz. Runners at the corners now with Cirillo representing the tying run. And this is probably their best clutch hitter.
He's 0 for 3 today, 0 for 7 in the series, including a strikeout today. And now the Cubs want Mark Grace to hold Vina over at first. He had a huge lead. 7-4, Cubs have the advantage. 4 runs have come home for Milwaukee here.
And Karchner must use a slide step because Vina will take off if he uses that high leg kick.
The high leg kick and almost to the screen. 1 ball, no strikes. One ball, no strikes. Two on, 2 out. 7-4 Cubs. The pitch. Line down the right field line. And on a play. Not a bad idea from Jeff Cirillo. It's 1-1. Banks leads at third. Vina at first. The 1-1. Outside again. 2 balls and a strike. The Cubs trying to find somebody, anybody with some kind of consistency out of that bullpen. It looked like today we wouldn't have had to open up that can of worms. But Trachsel ran out of gas in the 7th. Heredia and now Karchner try to subdue the Brewers. The 2-1. It's 2-2. May have swung at ball 3 there.
We'd like to see this particular bat end at 2-2 because you don't want to give Vina a running start. It's pretty easy to score from first on a double if you're going with the pitch. He'll probably not be going with the pitch on a 2-2 count.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Cirillo. A 7-4 game. Karchner has him at the corners. 2-2, 2 out, and now time. The pitch. He missed with it, and the count is full. 3-2.
They're going to stay away from Cirillo. It looks like they're going to do that. They want Sammy to move over a little bit closer to that line in right field because a double down that line scores Vina from first.
He's got a big lead at first. Grace will back up. And time again is called. Service will head to the mound to try to get himself straightened out. And Karchner as well. 7-4 game. Sammy Sosa's hit a couple of home runs. The Cubs were cruising right along. Steve Trachsel had the 7-0 lead. Could not get out of the inning. And now Karchner, the 3rd Cub pitcher here in the 7th, trying to protect a 7-4 lead. Jeff Cirillo, a 3-2 count. The stretch, the runner's lead. There goes Vina. The pitch swung on, hit high in the air to center. Lance ought to catch it. He's under it. He's got it. The inning mercifully is over. 4-run score in the 7th. On to the 8th we go. Sammy Sosa is due up 3rd, and the Cubs lead trimmed to 7-4. Well, Milwaukee's made a ball game of it with a 4-run uprising in the 7th. 7-4 as we head to the 8th inning. Hernandez, Grace, and Sammy Sosa will bat against right-hander Eric Plunk.
Plunk at 1-2, ERA .394 on for the 25th time. Control at times has been a problem. The big right-hander throws awfully hard, and he came over from the Cleveland Indians in exchange for Doug Jones. So what was a very comfortable 7-run lead is now down to 3. As the Cubs look for some insurance here in their half of the 8th inning.
And don't forget, folks, win or lose at the end of this ball game, we will carry Sammy Sosa's press conference live right here on WGN as he addresses the media from County Stadium in Milwaukee. But first things first, let's hope it's after a Cubs victory today as we approach the 4 o'clock hour in the Central Time Zone. Sosa will hit 3rd. First it's Hernandez, then it's Grace, and a couple of runs would be nice here. And Jose swings at the first ball and hits it a mile high into straightaway center field. Marquise Grissom trots over now to right center and puts it away. 1 pitch, 1 out. Mark Grace will be the batter. He's 1 for 4. And let's take a look at our ComEd Power Profile.
The ComEd Power Profile is the prodigious season of Sammy Sosa. The batting average, the home runs, the runs batted in, and the runs scored. Maybe the likes of which you'll never see again. So Sammy Sosa, our ComEd Power Profile.
Ball 1 to Mark Grace. Plunk works off the stretch exclusively, and the big right-hander brings it up there, and Grace hits it high up there, deep toward right. Odd playable for Burnitz, now in a couple of steps. 2 flyouts. And here is the second home run from Sammy Sosa, folks, and this was a rocket.
Henderson threw a fastball right down the middle, and Sammy hit a bullet right over the head of Marquise Grissom, and there was no doubt about that. And listen to the hand he gets from the crowd.
I'm just glad Bob Davidson wasn't here, because that might have been ruled a double. The ball did bounce back on the field. But there was no doubt about it. It was a bomb. Sosa 2 out of 2 with 2 homers. He has 65 now. And remember, he got Plunk in Chicago. The right-hander sets the pitch. Breaking ball. Good idea. He swung and missed it 0-1.
Yeah, he took a look at the Henderson fastball and where it wound up and decided that, discretion being the better part of valor, he would go to the curveball on the first pitch.
Who will have the lead at the end of today? Mark McGwire will face Randy Johnson a bit later on in St. Louis. No balls and a strike to Sammy. They are roaring in Milwaukee. Plunk to the belt now, the 0-1. Another breaking ball. He swung through it 0-2. So Sammy has to protect the plate. Two outs in the top of the 8th. Cubs with a 3-run lead. The stretch, the pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Sammy wants Jerry Davis to take a look at the baseball. It was indeed scuffed up, so it will leave play. Well, he's thrown a curveball by him and a fastball by him, and Plunk's best pitch is a fastball. I'm thinking he's going to throw it right in on his hands and try to throw it by him for strike 3.
1 and 2. Here it comes. 2 balls, 2 strikes. What will he bring to the dish here? We'll find out. The 2-2 to Sammy. It's inside. 3 and 2. 2 straight fastballs now. What does Hughes and Plunk?
We'll look in at Bobby Hughes as he hangs the curveball. Let's see if Plunk also hangs it.
3-2. Over his head. 3rd walk of the day for Sosa. The crowd boos. They wanted Sammy to reach for the fences one more time.
Well, he's scored 3. He's been walked 3 times and hit 2 home runs. So he goes to the curveball, and this one just spins high over his head.
Well, he hung it.
He did.
You have to be Wilt Chamberlain to hit that ball.
Like Clint Eastwood. Hang him high.
So runner at first now. 2 outs for Hill. He looks for his first hit on the day. Cubs need a couple of insurance runs. It's a 3-run ball game, and if you look ahead to the 8th inning for Milwaukee, Burnitz, Grissom, and Jenkins are due.
Now, Hughes doesn't throw very well. The combination of Plunk and Hughes should be easy to run on, and this should be a running situation for Sammy if he chooses to.
Not going there, and Hill rifles it foul straight back.
Cubs have not tried to put any pressure on Bobby Hughes, as quite frankly they haven't had to. This might be a situation where you're thinking about turning Sammy loose.
Sosa with 17 stolen bases on the year. Love to get the scoring position for Hill. He was leading and he got back on a dive. We are in the top of the 8th. Cubs 7, Milwaukee 4, and there you'll see the lean and the recover.
Sammy was going.
Another good lead and another lean and another close play. He's back again on a dive, and let's pause for station identification from Milwaukee.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
No balls and a strike. The runner holds. The pitch again popped up foul, and back into the seats. Glen Allen Hill down 2 strikes.
I'd send Sammy 0-2. And if you're scrap iron, Bill Garner, this is where you might think of calling a pitch up.
Hey, guys, back to work. There's a ballpark to be finished. 0-2. He's not going. The breaking ball grounded to the shortstop. Valentine will flip to Pena in time, and the Cubs' 8th inning is in the books. No runs, no hits, 1 man left. Bottom of the 8th inning rolls around. Burnett, Grissom, and Jenkins in a 7-4 Cub game. Brown takes over for Glen Allen Hill in left field. And the bottom of the 8th inning rolls around with Jeremy Burnett leading things off. He started the 4-run party for the Brewers in the 7th with a leadoff single against Steve Trachsel. 7-4 Cubs game in the middle of the Milwaukee order. And it's ball 2. Boy, the Cubs sure would like to see a nice clean 1-2-3 8th inning. Well, you know, the shooter Rod Beck will be coming on in the 9th. It's 2-0 to Burnett, and he has awesome power. And now it's 3-0.
Normally, this is a situation where you'd use Terry Mulholland to get the ball to Rod Beck. But obviously, after 8 innings yesterday, Terry out of the equation. So the rest of the guys in the pen will have to pick up the slack.
The 3-0. And nowhere near. 4 straight, he walks the leadoff man. Come on, Matt.
For Jim Riggleman, it's never easy. Seemingly a game in the bag with a 7-1 lead, only to see the Brewers score 4 and threatening again here in the 8th.
And Marquise Grissom now standing in. He's 2 out of 3 with a single, a double, and a run scored.
He's grounded into 12 double plays. The 13th would look awfully good.
Let's see if Matt can get a ground ball here. He's given up 2 flyouts in the game, and then, of course, the walk, and he gets ahead of Grissom, which is always a good idea. San Francisco had the bases loaded in the 5th inning and failed to score at home to the Pirates. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh in the 6th. The 0-1. Line foul 0-2. Again, you got to be wary of the Giants. They are just 2.5 games out of the wild card lead. But they failed Stoney to take advantage of that very favorable home schedule. They lost a lot of games that they shouldn't have lost. The 0-2 to Grissom. Little looping fly ball into center. Johnson charging, still coming. He makes the grab. That was close. 1 away.
Unfortunately, that one stayed up long enough. Lance Johnson got a very quick jump on it and was able to run it down. Lance charging hard as Grissom bidding for a bloop hit and nothing doing.
1 on, 1 out for Jeff Jenkins now. He's 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. 7-4 Cub lead. Trying to sweep Milwaukee. Trying to take a half-game wild card lead with the Mets and Expos later on tonight. The first pitch hits him right on the knee, and he is down. A hit batsman will bring the potential tying run to the plate in the 8th inning again.
This one right on the inside of the left knee, and you can bet that that one hurt. And Jenkins still trying to walk it off. But now you have to face Valentin and Phil Regan coming to the mound and wanting to tell Matt Karshner, with nobody up in the pen, what they want to do with Valentin. Let's do anything but what happened in the 7th inning, a 2-run double.
Well, now they start to scurry out there. Chris Haney, I think, has gotten up, and he'll start to loosen up for the Cubs, a right-hander as well. Rodney Myers was up earlier. It is Myers. So the tying run once again comes to the plate for Milwaukee. It's Valentin. He's hit 15 home runs, all of them from the left side of the plate. Cubs had a 7-0 lead. But the pen making it interesting once again here in Brew City.
It's hard to believe, but Valentin has only grounded into 2 double plays all year. That's in 415 at-bats. And as a dead pull hitter, Sammy is shading him well toward the line in right.
2 on, 1 out. Way high. Ball 1.
Now you have Hughes in the on-deck circle, but they've got some pretty good left-hand pinch hitters, and that's why Haney is getting loosened up.
1-0 the count. 2 on, 1 out. Now time call. They've got Hamlin. Available from the left side still. And that's a knee-high strike to even the count. Well, anything worth having's worth working hard for. The Cubs trying to work hard and get this win in Milwaukee. It's 7-4. 1 ball, 1 strike from Karchner. The set, the pitch. Bouncing ball towards second. Mickey will flip there for 1. High bat throw. Ricochets off the camera well, and what a huge break that is.
Well, you talk about good breaks. That would have been a run scored, a man at second. Instead, the ball stays in play. The Brewers don't score. And Valentin has to stay at first. So the breaks keep on a-coming.
He threw a boomerang. And look at the ricochet off the camera well. He never touched the second base bag. That's a break. And then the throw wide left.
Well, I'm real surprised that Tom Hallion did not see the play at second base. Because Manny hasn't touched that base yet.
So Hamlin will pinch hit here in the 8th.
And I think you got to go bring in Chris Haney to face Hamlin, but we'll see what's on the mind of Jim Riggleman.
Runners at first and third with 2 men out. And Hamlin announced. And he's going to stick with Karchner here. Karchner knows Hamlin from his American League days when Bob played with the Tigers and Kansas City. The pitch is high for a ball. He represents the potential tying run. A lot of second-guess opportunities here if this does not work out for the Cubs.
They've only faced one another twice, and Karchner walked him.
1-0 the count. 2 outs. The pitch. Little looping pop toward third. Jose can't get there in time. Count evens 1-1.
Hamlin 4 pinch homers, 6 runs driven in, and 11 pinch hits.
And again, if and when they make a new Babe Ruth story, he's my leading man. Look at him. He looks like the Bambino, doesn't he?
Well, he was the man that went down on strikes to end the ball game last night, courtesy of Rod Beck.
Well, let's see if he can go down quietly here in the 8th. 1-1. The pitch to Bob is outside. 2-1. Aaron Jackson has a bat. He would pinch hit next. Boy, I wish I had antacid stock.
So does Jim Riggleman.
Man, oh man. 2 balls and a strike. Here it comes. Pulled foul. 2-2 now.
Mark Grace is right on that line. He's not going to let anything get between him and the bag.
This bullpen would make Coffey nervous for the Cubs. They've been very, very skittish the last 2 months of the year. They've got the luxury of a 3-run lead. But Hamlin represents the tying run for the Brewers, who trailed 7-0 at one point. The set, the 2-2. He just did get a piece of that pitch. Sammy Sosa's hit 2 home runs today. He's tied Mark McGwire for the Major League lead at 65. More importantly, the Cubs trying to win for the 89th time this year. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Here it comes. Again, he just did stay alive. Every pitch so very critical. Every play of such magnitude.
And again, it's another situation where you want it to happen on 2-2 instead of 3-2, where Valentin can be off with the pitch.
Again, Karchner comes set. Here comes the 2-2. Bouncing ball. Grace knocked it down. Can't find it. Has chance. No, he doesn't. Hamlin got a big break. A run scores 7-5. 2 are on. And still 2 out. An infield hit.
Mark Grace goes up just about as high as he can go. It tips off the glove, then he can't locate it. By the time he does, Hamlin with another pinch hit. And that brings the game on the bases to the Brewers. A good effort by Grace, keeping it out of right field. But the Brewers inch a little bit closer. And now Darren Jackson comes on to pinch hit.
Tying runs are aboard. It's 7-5. Milwaukee scored 4 in the 7th, 1 so far here in the 8th. A walk, a hit batsman, and now an infield hit. The Cubs and Brewers just continue to battle. The stretch in the pitch. Good cut, foul back. Greg Martinez, the pinch runner for Hamlin at first.
Hamlin drives in his 7th run with his 12th hit as a pinch hitter. The outfield has to play a few steps deeper. You have to cut off a ball in the gap.
0-1 the pitch. Swung on, high fly ball, right center field. Johnson on the run. He's got it. And the inning is over. Oh, man. 1 run, 1 hit, 2 men left. Cubs need some insurance. It's 7-5 after 8. New battery for Milwaukee. Mike Matheny takes over behind the plate. And right-hander Chad Fox becomes the 6th Milwaukee pitcher on the day.
Fox out for the 47th time, an 0-3 record, a 3.79 ERA. His control has been very good. And the Cubs do have the 2-run lead, looking for more.
Here's our Ameritech playbook from Milwaukee.
Bob Hamlin bounces this ball, and Mark Grace goes up as high as he possibly can. He keeps it out of right field, but the Brewers get that much closer, and that is your Ameritech playbook.
So we need some insurance now. It's 7-5. Milwaukee with 5 unanswered runs. They will have the top of their order due up in the bottom of the 9th inning. As Manny Alexander bats for the first time today, he's a .229 hitter. And the shooter, Rod Beck, will be the man that gets the call. He'll seek save number 50 for the Cubs. 1-1 the pitch. Breaking ball, pulled just foul. Joe Carter just hit a 3-run homer for the Giants. They now take a 3-1 lead over Pittsburgh. That game is in the 6th inning in San Francisco. And Manny broke his back. Count of 1-2. Again, as we touched on earlier, Manny and so many other of the Cubs players from the Caribbean islands want to send along their best wishes to friends and family and their fellow countrymen as Hurricane George continues to wreak havoc. And we echo those sentiments and hope that Everyone's safe and sound down there. The 1-2 pitch. He swung at a ball in his eyes. Ground ball to first. Fox gets over to first in time, and there's one away. One out, base is empty. Mickey Morandini, the Cub hitter.
Good play by Loretta to get Fox the ball very quickly as Manny was hustling down the line, but Fox beat him by a step.
Big crowd today of over 45,000. Most of them hoping the Cubs can hang on today. It was a 7-0 ball game. It's now 7-5. Morandini with a base hit, 2 runs scored today.
This Brewer team averaged for the season a little over 22,000 fans a game. But the last homestand, which featured Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, drew 252,000 people. They averaged over 50,000 for 5 games to see Big Mac and Sammy. And they saw 65 hit by both.
Morandini fouls it to our left. It's 1-2. I guess they're happy they moved to the National League this year. That kind of attendance. Not happy with what McGwire and Sosa have done to their pitching staff.
No.
They sure like how they've worn out the turnstiles here. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Morandini. We're in the 9th inning. Cubs up 7-5, bases clear. And Mickey strikes out for out number 2. This kid Fox has a pretty good arm. 2 up, 2 down. Here's a look.
Pretty good slider. Mickey Morandini down on strike.
Rod Beck will come on for the bottom of the 9th inning.
Vina, Loretta, and Cirillo if anybody gets on Burnett.
That is no easy assignment. Ball 1 to Service. And Scott wants to take a look at the ball, I think. Nope, they say 2-0. I guess the pitcher went to his mouth while standing on the mound. So the count is 2-0. That's a no-no.
Got Orlando Merced in the on-deck circle. He'll come on to pinch hit if Scott can keep it alive.
Boy, what a big home run he hit against these guys in Chicago. Game-winning 3-run blast. Service rockets into right field. Will they cut it off? Yes, they will. Scott, big turn, but he'll head back to first with a 2-out base hit, and they will give Merced a chance to repeat his big 9th inning feat. So Service a 2-hit game. And it's Merced for Karchner.
And with a left-handed starter today, both of the hits by Scott Service came off right-handed relievers. So Orlando comes on hitting .375, 3 for 7, a homer, and 4 driven in as a pinch hitter.
Not too shabby. The pitch is a fastball steal, right call. Shadows making things a little tough. Most of the diamond bathed in shadows except for the batter's box. A little peak of sunshine for the hitters. The 0-1, here it comes. Breaking ball, hammered foul. 0-2. Rod Beck continues to warm up on what's turned into a chilly day now in Milwaukee. The 0-2 pitch. Here it comes. It's high, 1-2. There's a live shot of the conference room here in Milwaukee. We will be there for all of the post-game words of wisdom from today's participants. Of course, Sammy Sosa will address the media too, and we'll have it live. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out, inning over. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. On comes Rod Beck, trying to become the 5th pitcher in baseball history with 50 saves or more. The Cubs have a 2-run lead in the 9th. Well, that's a pleasant thought. Hopefully that'll be the case here in 1998. World Series part, that is. Rod Beck's had a huge hand in the Cubs' success this year. He has saved 49 of the Cubs' 88 victories this year, and he tries to become the 5th man in Major League history with 50 saves, with one today in Milwaukee.
Shooter on for the 78th time. The ERA at 2.99, the record at 3-2. And it's not going to be easy because he goes right at the top of the order. Vina, Loretta, Cirillo, if anybody gets on, Jeremy Burnitz. And yesterday, Rod came in for an inning of sharpening up. He gave up a home run, 3 hits, but the Cubs went on to win it. And there is the broom in this abbreviated 2-game series. And Sammy will have had a big hand in this one with the 2 home runs because those 2 home runs are the difference.
Yes, they are.
It stands at 7-5.
Yes, they are, my friend. And one has to worry about that home run that you touched upon that Rod Beck gave up. That was to Jeremy Burnitz last night in the 9th inning. And Burnitz, again, would hit 4th in this inning if Vina, Loretta, Cirillo could get aboard. Cubs 7, Brewers 5. The Cubs had a 7-run lead before Steve Trachsel ran out of gas in the 7th inning. He gave up 4. Karchner gave up 1 in an inning and 2/3. So it's Beck against Vina in the 9th. First pitch swinging, ground ball second. How about that? 1 pitch, 1 out.
Well, when you need base runners, it's hard to believe that you'd be up there swinging at the first pitch, but that's what Fernando Vina decided to do, and Rod Beck most appreciative of this one. A little chopper right at Mickey Morandini. The Cubs 2 outs away, and Rod Beck 2 outs away from save number 50. The Cubs would have a half-game lead in the wild card race.
With the Mets hosting Montreal later on tonight, Jones against Pavano. This guy has been a burr under our saddle all year long. Mark Loretta 1 for 4 today. He's hitting over 400 against Cub pitching this season. And again, he would love to get aboard for Cirillo and or Burnitz. And knuckleheads running all over the field in center field here in Milwaukee. We're not going to show them, but that's the reason for the delay here. And since this used to be one of the homes of the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, where's Herb Adderley when we need him?
That would be nice, or Reggie White. So the morons obviously out here in Milwaukee. And it takes Rod Beck right out of his flow. So they'll escort these Nimrods to the local Hoosgow, and we'll get back to business here. The bases are clear. There's 1 man out. We're in the 9th. The Cubs enjoying a 7-5 lead. And hopefully the New Yorkers watching the game at Shea Stadium in New York on the Diamond Vision are looking on at what has been a wacky ball game. Sammy Sosa has hit a couple of home runs. That will be the big headline tomorrow. Mark McGwire will take dead aim at Randy Johnson tonight in St. Louis.
He's hit a couple of home runs against Randy Johnson, including a Titanic shot in the Kingdome, 530 some odd feet.
And here they are in the 5th inning. This was the one that I was most impressed with, only because he finally hit the ball to right field.
Well, he also broke an 0 for 21, and that was number 64. But in the 6th, he got one out over the plate and just crushed it to straightaway center field. It was a rocket shot over the head of Marquise Grissom.
Man, these homer-happy fans in Milwaukee certainly have gotten their money's worth. With Mark McGwire coming to town, with Sammy Sosa coming to town. Sosa with 12 homers this year against Brewer pitching. Now one of the local gendarmes trying to find his or her way to the outfield bullpen. They've made it. They shut the fence, and now we're back to work. 1 ball, no strikes to Loretta. He's 1 for 4 today. Cubs 2 outs away from a win in Brew City. The pitch. Upstairs, 4-2. Beck. With that right arm. Dangling goes back to work. Line drive, base hit. Tying run will come to the plate.
I'm going to be real happy when we don't have to look at Mark Loretta anymore. That young man is a real good hitter. And now it brings the tying run to the plate. But Cirillo has a propensity to hit into double plays.
Well, let's hope he propensities are a little more right here.
24 of them this year. And if you can get the double play, then you don't have to face the very dangerous man on deck, Jeremy Burnett.
That's got to lead the National League, doesn't it?
If not, it's right up there.
Well, he and Vinny Castilla share that dubious honor, both with 24. Beck misses low, ball one.
Not a bad idea from Cirillo. He saw Jose Hernandez back at third. He was thinking about trying to bunt his way on, which would have ensured Burnitz would come to bat.
Well, that's what Milwaukee wants. They want Burnitz in the batter's box here in the ninth inning. He homered off Beck last night. The pitch. It's high. 2-0. Beck trying to join Eckersley, Randy Myers, Bobby Thigpen, and Trevor Hoffman is the only man with 50 saves or more in a single year. How about a ground ball double play right here? The 2-0. Fastball took it, strike one. Seven, 5, 1 on, 1 out in the bottom of the ninth inning in Milwaukee. Beck comes set, the 2-1. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Boy, he really fooled him with that delivery. One thing about Rod Beck, it may not always look pretty, but this guy has unbelievable composure.
There's the commissioner of baseball, Bud Selig. And he saw up close and personal Sammy Sosa tie Mark McGwire, hitting 2 home runs today.
We may have to take Bud to Houston with us. He's been a good luck charm for Sammy. The 2-2 pitch won't be made. Sammy's hit 12 home runs against the Milwaukee team this year. And although Bud's put his shares in the Brewers into trust, he still has the connection. The 2-2. Swung line left field. Base hit. Loretta around second. He's on his way to third. Brown barehands it. It's a double, tying runs in scoring position for Burnitz.
Jeff Cirillo with his first hit of the day. And it's an off-speed pitch. He takes it right down the line. And now Jim Riggleman will go to the mound to talk with Rod Beck about how they want to approach this Burnitz at bat. Brown does a nice job of getting to the ball quickly, making sure Loretta can't score. He is held at third. There's no sense risking being thrown out at the plate. Not when the winning run is standing there in the person of the biggest left-handed run producer in our league, Jeremy Burnitz. Now you have first base open, but Burnitz represents the winning run.
So we'll see how the shooter approaches Burnitz here, who, as Steve mentioned, has had a monster year. 38 home runs, 124 batted in. Burnitz homered against Beck last night.
They're going to walk him. They're going to walk the winning run on base with 1 out to face Marquise Grissom. Wow. The fans here booing the decision. But you set up the double play possibility. And if you're going to manage in this league, you're going to have to make some real difficult decisions. And this was a difficult decision for Jim Riggleman.
Well, last night Grissom faced Beck. Last night Grissom singled against Beck. So the bases are loaded in the bottom of the ninth inning. It's Beck versus Grissom in the ninth. Cirillo represents the game-tying run. Burnett's the game-winning run.
Only 1 out, and Marquise Grissom, despite his very good speed, has grounded into 12 double plays.
Another nail-biter for the Cubs. 7-5 in the ninth. Beck will go off the windup now against Grissom. Rod ready. Here he goes. The pitch. Steve right call 0-1.
Jeff Jenkins in the on-deck circle. But the game is on the bases for the Brewers.
They've got him loaded. 5 unanswered runs. The pitch. It's upstairs. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Probably the person who is the least nervous in the ballpark, and that includes everybody here, including us, is Rod Beck. He's been here before, and let's see if he comes out on top here today.
1 ball, 1 strike. Here comes the pitch. Squibbed foul. Boy, he barely made contact with that ball. It's 1-2. Skipper, everybody in Cubs land echoes those sentiments. Come on, Rod. 1-2 to Grissom. Here it comes. 2-2.
We try to heat him upstairs with a fastball. Probably setting him up for this off-speed pitch. It's probably going to be the fork ball, and hopefully it'll be down.
And here's the pitch you want it to happen on. You don't want to go 3-2. 2-2 to Grissom. Here it comes. Whoa, where was that?
Well, that was awfully close. Rod Beck surprised him with a fastball. Jerry Davis thought it was inside. So we'll run out the string as that one just misses inside.
So now it is full. 3-2. Foul back again.
We went to the fork ball. 3-2, and Grissom just able to stay alive. Boy, everybody on their feet. What a game.
Oh, man. I'm going to have gray hair by the end of this year. The 3-2. High pop. Infield fly if it's fair. 2 down.
Well, Rod Beck refused to give in. He went to 2 off-speed pitches, the second of which was popped straight up. And now he's going to face the youngster, Jeff Jenkins. He does not have a hit today, and he's never faced Rod Beck.
This has been unbelievable, man. Every game goes down to the final hitter, it seems.
And every game goes down to the final pitch. There's no comfort zone these days as far as the Cubs are concerned. And nationwide, there are a lot of interested spectators watching the Jenkins-Beck matchup with the bases loaded and 2 out.
And a 7-5 Cub lead. The shooter winds and fires. Swing! What a rip he had, and fouled it back. Oh, he got a belt-high fastball, and he just missed it.
And that might be the last fastball he sees. And he tried to attack the first ball fastball and fouled it back.
The winning run at first, the tying run at second for Milwaukee. The 0-1 pitch to Jenkins from the shooter. Here it is. Just missed to even the count. 1-1. Oh, baby. What a game. Here comes the 1-1 to Jenkins. Off-speed roller is foul. And now the Brewers down to their last strike.
I figure you got a very anxious youngster up. You got a veteran on the mound. He's going to try to get him out of the strike zone. That fork ball down in the dirt, which will put some pressure on Scott Service. But Rod has surprised some people with face-high fastballs in similar situations.
Look at all these Cub fans roaring in Milwaukee. 1-2. Bases loaded. Beck ready. And now time call. The Cubs 1 strike away from putting the pressure on the Mets in New York tonight.
Looks to me like that call was the backdoor slider to hit the outside corner. I'm not sure what he wants this time.
We'll find out. Here's the 1-2. Outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You just can't go to 3-2 here because it allows everybody to run. And Burnett does have good speed at first.
2-2. Jenkins with a quality at bat here. Back ready. Here it comes. Line drive deep toward left. Brown back, still going at the edge of the track. Has dropped it.
Oh!
He dropped it. Oh no! 2-run score.
It's a tie game. They go ahead, they win the game.
The run scored and the Milwaukee Brewers have won it. I don't believe it. The ball was in his glove. He dropped it, and the winning run came home to score. Oh, no, in Milwaukee.
The ball bounded away with the runners going in what looked like the end of the ball game. It just bounded away. Burnett never stopped. The ball bounded away. It for a while looked like he was going to stop at third. And then he came trotting home with the 8th and winning run. Wow. And Brant Brown absolutely beside himself. Oh, my. What a ball
was
game.
in his glove.
And what a way to end it.
2 runs scored, and by the time he recovered, the winning run scored for Milwaukee, and it's one of the most heartbreaking ball games in Cub history. It's got to be. Sammy Sosa hits 2 home runs. The game was won. Beck had it nailed down, and Brownie flat out dropped it. And Milwaukee wins it in the 9th inning. The Cubs fall a half game behind New York now. I am shocked. 8-7, and here's another look at what happened.
Well, Chip, we've seen some strange endings to ball games. I think that Jenkins thought that that's the last out of the game. Unfortunately for the Cubs, Burnett never stopped running. Brant Brown has it in the glove. It bounds away, and this is when Burnett turned it on around third base, and he scores the winning run. It's right there in the glove and drops out. The Cubs go down to defeat 8-7. Wow.
The bases were loaded. Jenkins fly to left, and the Cubs had a 7-0 lead. They lost it, and they lost the game 8-7.
Well, you see just about everything in this game, and we've seen games ended on seemingly innocuous throws to first base. The Terry Mulholland situation in the Astrodome, and there's nothing you can say about it. The Cubs played a very good, solid ball game. They had played an errorless game until that last slicing line drive away from Brown. He was put into the game as a defensive replacement for Glenn Allen Hill, and the ball just got away. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it except head to Houston and see if you can win 3 games there.
Wow, what a shocking turnaround for the Cubs, who now have to watch the scoreboard from the air as we head down to Houston. And Dan Roan, we've seen some crazy stuff, as Steve mentioned, this year, but I don't think we expected that to happen to Brant Brown and the Cubs today.
Boy, Chip, I'll tell you what, I'm in the camera bay here near the Cubs dugout. When that ball goes up in the air, you see it's not going out of the park, and Brant Brown's circling. He's got his hand up and says, I got it. I'm jumping over the wall to get Sammy coming off the field for us, and the next thing I know, the game's over and the Brewers have won. The people that are down here are absolutely in shock. I mean, it got so quiet so fast, it was unbelievable. And oh, you just hope this isn't one of those moments that goes down in Cubs history, and we know what some of that history has been all about in the past few years.
All I can remember was the ball was hit to Brown, and Beck and everybody else thought it was over, and it popped away, and you just got that sickening feeling in your soul. You knew 2 runs had scored, and by the time the Cubs got the ball back into the infield and shocked the winning run, it scored, and that's all she wrote.
Well, obviously with 2 outs, you know they're running, but for a moment it appeared that Jeremy Burnett might have slowed down around third base, but as the ball got away from Brant Brown, Burnett, with good speed, was coming as hard as he could. He scored easily, and I got to tell you, the Cub fans here are just in a state of shock, and I know you at home feel the same way. a game you seemingly had won. And Rod Beck probably starting to walk off the mound, thinking that he had saved number 50. He made the big pitch at 2-2. He didn't go to 3-2, so the runners were not going with the pitch. Obviously, they were going when the ball was hit. And the Cub fans just almost sitting there in a stunned silence at the turn of events. This was a game that the Cubs had 7-0. The Brewers were doing nothing with Steve Trachsel. It stayed that way till the 7th when Jeremy Burnitz led it off with a single. Turned into 4 runs that inning. They got a little closer with a run in the 8th. And they put 3 unearned runs on the board in the 9th inning.
One away for the Brewers to finish out their home schedule with an amazing comeback win. It was 7-0, as Steve mentioned. They scored 4 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 3 in the 9th. A game that the Cubs had won. And Cub fans everywhere, you can just see, did I just see what just happened? Yes, you did. Unbelievable. The Cubs were looking at a half-game wild card lead, looking at sweeping the Brewers, looking to head down to Houston with a chance to maybe go up with a game and 3 to play, but that didn't happen.
And not only that, Chip, but the Cubs, with a win here, had their destiny in their own hands. If they win out, they win the wild card. I mean, it might have taken a final win in New York, but if they win out, they win the wild card. As it turns out now, the Cubs are going to need some help.
And that help will have to come in the form of the Montreal Expos, who, again, if you're looking for positives, have beaten New York 7 times in 11 outings. Dan, what's happening down on that field?
Well, everybody is cleared out of the dugout finally, you guys, and are on their way to the clubhouse, and in some cases, Sammy and Jim Riggleman and maybe another player or two, the interview room. But as the players walked off the field, I mean, it was eyes to the dirt. Nobody's heads were up, totally devastated. And as Brant Brown came off the field, he was in tears walking into the Cubs locker and our Cubs clubhouse, through the dugout and on in. And boy, what a terrible, terrible thing to happen to anybody. It's something that Brant Brown will never forget. Hopefully the Cubs can ease his pain a little bit by winning some of these games in Houston, but this is going to be very difficult for anybody to bounce back. And we will return with more from County Stadium here in Milwaukee right after this.
Three runs for Milwaukee in the bottom of the 9th inning. A dropped fly ball in left. Jim Riggleman, the Cubs skipper, is standing by in the interview room. Let's join him for his post-game comments.
Yeah, I talked to Brant. You know, I feel so bad for Brant right now because he's agonizing. You know, Brant Brown wants us to win this thing as bad as anybody in that room. He's a great competitor, and we're not in the position we're in right now competing for this wild card position if it's not for Brant Brown. Brant, you know, he took over for Lance when Lance got hurt and just did a great job. And, you know, he's a very talented athlete. It's, you know, you get in the time of day. I don't make excuses for anybody, but you get that time of day sometimes, and it's just tough to catch a fly ball out there. You know, it's shadows and ball kind of knuckling out there at him and all that, and it got away from him. You know, as I say, I wish there was something I could say to make it better for Brant right now, but he wants it so bad. That's why it's going to hurt him so bad.
Jim, did he say it was due more to the sun or the shadow?
No, Brant, you know, he's not making any excuses. He missed the ball. He's not saying anything. He just, you know, like the rest of our ball club, we're agonizing right now. You know, it was a tough loss. We win together and we lose together, and we got a tough challenge ahead of us now in Houston. But you know what? When we if we win that ball game today, we go to Houston. We got to win the ball game Friday. We still got to win the ball game Friday. You know, I'm responsible for the wins and losses, and you know, there's a lot of things I could have done differently in the ball game. So certainly, you know, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at what happened there at the end.
Jim, when you talk about
Well, Jim Riggleman's a stand-up guy. So is Brant Brown. And it's still just a shocking turn of events. That's all you can say. 8-7 our final score. Our Budweiser plays of the game. Sammy Sosa ties Mark McGwire with 2 home runs today, 1 to right, 1 to straightaway center, his 64th, his 65th of the year. The Cubs were enjoying a 7-0 lead, cruising right along, and then disaster struck in the last 3 innings of this ball game. The Cubs do have to go out and win in Houston Friday. They do have to win Saturday. They do have to win Sunday. But now if New York wins tonight, they don't hold their fate in their own hands. That's the big difference in today's turnaround. A wild card game. Cubs a half game back behind New York. The Giants 2.5 games back, and they are winning today 4-1. The Expos and Mets will battle a little bit later on. Bobby Jones against Carl Pavano. We're back at it Friday from the Astrodome. The Cubs and the Astros battle at 7 o'clock. It'll be Kevin Tampany once again going for his 20th win of the year. Jose Lima will go for the Astros. Folks, an absolutely crushing defeat in Milwaukee. 8-7 is your final score. We'll have more as the 10th inning show will continue right here on WGN after this time out.